All right, this Shooting the Breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd. I am him, he is I, with the same guy. I had to cut out the intro song. I'm waiting on my buddy D. Allen White, songwriter buddy of mine in Nashville, who's supposed to be writing me a theme song. I've heard the song. It sounds awesome. He's doing the voiceover and the intros and the teasers on it sometime this week, so maybe by next week we'll break that bad boy out. But tonight my guest is Steven Lewandowski, owner and operator of the Blue Cake Company in Little Rock, Arkansas. How's it going, Steven?
Oh, doing well, doing well.
What's been happening, man? How's the cake business?
Well, not so bad right now. We're actually starting to cool off, which means all the weddings that are going to be in September and October, November are starting to pay, get their stuff going. So we start getting a bump now. We only have a couple down months, and those are in the winter. So.
Right. Plus, I figure it's starting to get to the holiday time of the year, so I'm sure you get your Halloween, your Christmas, your Thanksgiving cakes, which I can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Like I tell you, every time I go to Little Rock, it seems like I'm headed to a doctor or hospital. But I can't wait to get over there and try some of your fine, scrumptious-looking delicacies I see you're whipping up over there. But a lot of people, like I say, when I say this man makes cakes, he takes it to a high art form. It ain't like he's making sheet cakes at Walmart just squirting happy birthday on them. I'm talking about if you could go to the Blue Cake Company on Facebook and see some of his work, I have to give it to you, Steven. It's impressive, man. It's an art form, dude. I will.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've seen.
Definitely try.
Go ahead.
Well, I see a lot of faults in them all the time, so I'm always striving to be best and get a little bit better, and it seems like I can never get there, but it helps when people come in and they're as happy as they can be and think that they got a hell of a deal. So I love what I do.
I bet you love what you do, man. I would love it. I like to cook, man, but then again, I'm just some shade tree chef. I don't have the skills by no means that you have. And like I say, you can go to the Blue Cake Company's Facebook page, the number and locations over there, because believe it or not, Steven, this little crummy podcast I got, man, I can look at analytics and I can see who listens to me. And I've had people all the way from North Dakota to Australia listen to my little podcast. So maybe we can get you a couple cake customers.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get you a couple cake customers in there. Because I know I'm planning on giving you a few bucks come January to get my son a cake, because I want to do it big, because he's going to be the big 13 on the next one, and I want to do it right. And,
wow.
Yeah, it's scary, dude.
What's he into?
What's that? He's in.
What's he like?
He's into. Man, I hate to say I'm that lame dad, but man, I'm trying to educate him on films. I've let him watch all the John Hughes films just about, and Caddyshack and stuff I can get away with, but. Man, he's into anime and stuff that I was never into, man. So now I'm like that lame old dad that don't know what is, you know what I mean? I just don't dig it. But, which I know a little bit about Dragon Ball Z. I'm a big Eagles fan and Razorback fan, but I just can't sell him on football or sports, man. He's into anime and Dragon Ball Z and all that. And I'm sure I'll get some type of idea for you, but I'm definitely going to give you some cake business come January. And like I said, if anybody wants a top shelf cake, Steven is the guy. Where'd you go to school at, Steven?
I went out to, after graduating at Euler, I was looking at a master's or doctorate degree in psychology.
Really?
But I was working at the state hospital at the same time. So once, after a few months of that, I don't know, man. It was turning me off, so I thought, well, I'll just put this off on a burner. Love the restaurant business. I've always been in it, and I thought, I'm going to go out to culinary school, because if you want to end up owning a restaurant, you need to know what goes on in the kitchen.
True.
That's the heart and soul.
Right.
It's not that I wanted to be a chef, but I did want to eventually own a business, and you have to know what's going on in the kitchen.
So you went to full-blown culinary school, not just for baking. So you're a full-blown chef then,
exactly,
right?
Yeah, I went. Yeah, well, we don't come out certified chefs. We actually come out certified cooks. But to become a chef, you got to, basically, sort of what we've done. My wife is a certified pastry chef now. I don't really need to become certified. I don't want to go through the work, honestly.
Right, but you've done
it
on the
takes a lot
job.
of, you've got, yeah, I could pass it easily, I would think. But
Oh, surely. From what I've seen, you could pass with flying colors. I had a buddy, man, in Little Rock. I had a buddy in Little Rock who was a chef. He was the executive chef for Axiom, for the CEO of Axiom when I worked over there.
oh,
Named Jay Fitzpatrick. I don't know if you know him, but he had a little catering business over there. But I used to love hanging out with the guy because he would you know what I mean? We'd break bread, and then man, he would whip up something like it was on Top Chef or something. It was pretty rad. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to give too much away.
There's some tricks that you learn. I say it's like magic tricks, and boy, you can whip something up real nice and quick for people, and pretty simple things. You don't have to go all out and bake pastries and crap for them. Most people just want a good cream sauce over something. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, plus I'm sure it's a whole lot more fun to be a baker or to be a cake maker or than actually run an entire restaurant, man. Because, like I said, I've cooked before in a restaurant, and it is the heart and soul. But you know, when I say cooked, I didn't do no real cooking. It was basic stuff, mostly burgers, steaks, stuff like that. But there's a lot of headache to it, man. A lot of overhead, and a lot can go wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's one of those businesses. You either go big or you go broke. Quick.
Yeah. It really, I mean, most of them don't make it, and if you don't, you know, I'm not a wealthy person. I'm happy, and that suits me just fine. If I wanted to go to the next level, to me, it's creating an unbelievable amount of stress that I'm not interested in.
Oh, I bet. I couldn't imagine the stress running the restaurant in Little Rock. You know, I'm from Forest City, which is a burg compared to Little Rock, but I'm sure it's a whole lot. Get to be a whole lot more creative, and it's a whole lot more enjoyable and stress free. And as long as you're fulfilled, that beats money any day of the week. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Oh, it definitely does. Definitely does. And you know, I've always been in art. I wasn't very good at it, but I have I've got a good eye for it, anyways. And I get by as far as decorating cakes. I think. But you know, it's funny because I never could have made money at any of my art.
Right.
And now I am. So it's, any of my artistic abilities were not as well as they seem to be now.
Oh, but they've definitely come to fruition on your cakes and your pastries, dude. It's amazing. And like I said, I've seen a bunch of stuff you posted when your wife competes, and what she does is unbelievably artistic. You know, she seems to be successful at it. I don't think I've seen her lose yet.
Yeah, she loves. I think she's she's won. She lost the last one, but she hasn't. She's got a couple. Like four. She's won like 4 or 5 events in the last couple of years, and but she loves to compete. Her problem, as well as mine, when we come to do something like that, is the time. You know, you got 3 kids.
Right.
You know, and she still has a business. I run it, but I don't know if she worries about it or not. But you know, and then she's got her teaching. She does outside work for the school.
Oh, really?
And then she goes into these competitions, and most of these people have several weeks to prepare. And she's, you know, doing this 20 hours a week. Which is nothing compared to what you need to do to put into these. So she sort of in the same position I am. Whatever we do, we have to rush it. You don't make money you don't make money when you take 2 weeks to do 1 cake.
Right. And at the end of the line, you still got to make a buck, even though you try to be as creative as possible. I can understand that, but the fact that she rushes and still makes stuff that is as beautiful as I've seen. And you know what I mean? Is even more incredible. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't imagine what happened if she had 20 hours.
I look up to her, definitely. I respect the shit out of her. She works harder than I do, by all means.
So y'all don't compete at the house then, right?
No. Well, there was that whoever cooks, the other person does the dishes, but we don't compete. And now we don't do that anymore because I tend to clean as I go, and I use as few dishes as possible.
Right.
She likes to have condiments in every freaking little bowl and uses every pot. So I don't clean up after her. She cleans up
Oh, yeah,
after
sounds like a lot of
herself.
work. I'm a minimalist like that, too. I try to use as few dishes as possible. I guess it's a man thing. I try to use as few dishes as possible. You know what I mean? And
you eat out of the skillet or the pot.
Yeah, that's me right there, man. It might taste good, but it's coming right out the pot. You know what I mean? And like I said, I wouldn't know the difference between a salad fork and a regular fork if you stab me in the eye with it. I ain't going to lie to you.
Yeah.
But I'm white trash from small town in Arkansas, so you don't expect much. But I had an ex-girlfriend who went to the Cordon Bleu out there in San Francisco. And I think it's where Jay Fitzpatrick went. But she never done nothing with it, man.
Well, I tell you.
Go ahead.
Really? She hasn't done anything with it?
Well, now I think she's, believe it or not, man, well, she come from a well-to-do family in my hometown, and she was an amazing artist. And she went to art school and got a degree there. She's one of those people that's mastered 3 or 4 degrees. Then she just got bored with art and was teaching art for a while at school, and then decided she wanted to go to culinary school. So since she comes from a little bit of means, she went to Le Cordon Bleu out there. I know I sound country as hell saying it. Le Cordon Bleu out there in Frisco. And now last time I talked to her, dude, she was working on a food truck. And I thought that must be the most amazing food truck in California, or that must be a crappy way to waste your degree. You know what I mean?
Is she working on it out there?
Yeah, she's working out. Last time I talked to her, she said she was working out there on some food truck, and it wasn't even her food truck. And I figured, man, if you had that type of degree,
I tell you what, there's some good ones around here.
See,
Exactly.
Right. Man, I would love to own a food truck. Man, I saw, which I can't do that because of my back, but I saw a food truck for sale not too long ago, and I had those pipe dreams of, man, I could take that food truck and put a coat of paint on it, and you know what I mean, make burritos for a living or something. But yeah, that'd never happened probably.
Sometimes you find the right product, and sometimes people don't know that they're wanting something really bad until they show up. So there's no telling what you can.
Well, like I said, I can never do what you do, dude. Plus, you have all the experience. Like I said, if people don't believe me who are listening, man, go to the Blue Cake Company on Facebook. It's amazing. Man, I'm telling you, it's amazing. And, I ain't going to lie to you, being an old head, like I don't want to give too much away, but, I'm all about herbal remedies back in the day. And I would go and watch the Food Channel and try to emulate it. And, I can cook a little bit, but you see them taking fondue and making the cakes. And it's amazing. I used to be a big fan of the Cake Boss back before they just played that show out, and then everybody had a cake show. You know what I mean? And
oh yeah. I can't watch them. It stresses me out.
Oh, I bet. But well, it was like, look, I used to do this by no means a comparison. I used to manage a Taco Bell, worst job I ever had in my life. And man, I'd work 12 hours a day, and I would go home. And I would dream about making tacos, dude. So it was like I was making tacos 24 hours a day, man. Like I never stopped making tacos, dude. It almost drove me out of my mind. You know what I mean? It was horrible, dude. I don't know how people who manage fast food restaurants do it. It was the worst, crappiest job I ever had, because you'd have people who couldn't even spell burrito cuss you out because their burrito didn't have 3 tomatoes on it, or it was 3 tomatoes short. Just nitpick stuff. But luckily for you, it's all you do cupcakes and cookies and stuff. Like people could walk in and just buy stuff, right? It ain't all custom cakes, right?
Oh yeah. No, well, we started. Exactly. When we first started, we didn't have a lot of walk-in traffic, but we started when we moved to the new spot. We'd already started doing pedophores. These little.
I love pedophores.
1.5 by 1. I think they're about 2 inches.
Mini cakes, right?
And yeah, people have bad opinions of pedophores for some reason or another. I don't think I'd ever had one until we started making them. So I only know ours, and ours are phenomenal. That's
right.
One thing I'll brag about with our shop. I mean, all the other stuff I'll remain humble about, but the the pedophores, are really where it's at. As soon as I can get a piece of equipment where I can cut them all at once, I get 70 out of a sheet that I put together. But right now we're cutting all that by hand with a knife.
Wow.
10 minutes or so. But if I had a cutter that would cut them all at once, the production would go up, and I actually would be able to go down on my pedophores some,
right,
which would only increase their sales. So it'd be a win-win if I could get something manufactured, but I haven't found anything yet.
Like I say, from what I've seen, man, it shouldn't take long before you have top shelf equipment, because if you do top shelf work, and if you don't have top shelf equipment, I can't imagine to see what you do with brand new top shelf equipment, because you do phenomenal work right now. You think pedophores might be just a little too sophisticated for us Arkansans? People just don't know what they are.
Well, see that, here's the deal. We have cupcakes, we have cookies, and the pedophores was the last thing to come on. When we first opened, we did pies and tarts, but really most people wanted cakes, so we sort of shrunk down to do what we do best. And pedophores are cake as well. So when we first started,
right,
yeah, you'd get the jokes, pedophile, something silly like that, which not really a joke, but
it's Arkansas. It qualifies for a joke here, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So nobody knew what pedophores were. So the way this is where you become a drug dealer, I guess, in a way. You start giving the stuff out a little bit free. And so people would come in, I'd give them one here and here. And literally, they would turn around. You'd see them getting in their car. They would get back out and come in and buy something.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so any event around here that calls for donations, be it the children's hospital or any good cause. I'll pick a good cause, and then I pick my two churches. Well, not like I go, but I still do stuff for them. And the schools that my kids go to. As long as it's a good cause, I'll do something. Most of the time what I'll tell them is I'll do the pedophores. I don't do cupcakes for them. Cupcakes have all that icing on top, and they cost more for me to do.
Right.
So I started donating the pedophores to these events. 100, 200, 300. I've done 600, 700 events.
Man, I could eat 100 by myself. Go ahead.
And that is how the name got out. Well, the fact that pedophores are okay and they're damn good, and we're the place to get them. So that just giving them away is the best form of advertising. You got them
sprung, man, like a dope dealer.
That is charitable.
Right.
Yeah. For dope dealing for the kids, because
that's right.
We wanted to
pasty slinging for the toddlers. Right.
There you go.
But man, you got me, man. Now I didn't know you did pedophore. Now I'm all excited, dude. I'm gonna come over there and get diabetes one day, dude. I promise you, man. I love pedophores.
Well, I've been working on it.
Right. Well, that's what you told me, that you're a cookie fiend. Because earlier we were talking, and I had mentioned, I was like, man, if I were you, dude, I would be 450 pounds and diabetic. And he was like, man, I'm a cookie monster. And you said you've been trying to cut down because your blood sugar was all out of whack, which I'm glad of it, because I can't wait to finally meet you. Like I said, Steven, I guess I even told my listeners, but Steven's another one of my left-leaning friends that I met in one of these private liberal groups. One I quit because they were hypocrites, but we become friends, and I've known you, I don't know, for a year or two probably now, and I've never met him, and I don't know why, because I'm always in the hospital when I go to Little Rock, and I can't drive because of my back. But I promise you, I got to come to Little Rock, I think in October, for a doctor's appointment. Come hell or high water, dude. I'm coming by your shop. I don't care if I got a wheel in there.
Well, give me a holler. Tell me where you're at. If it ain't a Friday or a Saturday, which it won't be a Saturday, but if it ain't a Friday, I'll bring some to you.
Yeah, dude. If nothing else, I have them wheel me in a stretcher, dude, and you just pipe them into an IV. You know what I mean? You can just put them in a blender and whip them up, dude, like a feeding tube. Because I love pedophores. Well, if you would say, well, yeah, I know you're a humble guy, but what would you say is your most popular cake, or what do you think your best cake is?
Like the flavor?
Right. That buttercream?
It's our most popular.
Right, usually
Now,
is. Which one do you
Our
like?
chocolate cake.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, chocolate.
They're both outstanding. I always tell people when they ask, it depends on the man. There's times that I'll eat the heck out of the chocolate or the vanilla or the Italian, any number of the ones that we do. The strawberry, outstanding.
Oh, I like strawberry, dude. See,
I'll forget unless I'm cutting off a little piece.
right, well, you got to taste your wares every now and again, right? Just to make sure everything's cool in the batter, right? And everything's kosher.
Oh yeah, you got to make sure because everything we do is from scratch, and the baker, they forget things. They get things mixed up, and if they forgot salt and
Right.
nobody tasted it, you wouldn't know until it cost you money.
Right.
And, which has happened. We've had people call and say, "Hey, something's wrong. That's really, really sweet buttercream or tastes weird." Well, here we are using buttercream that doesn't have salt. And you would be surprised, but probably all of the buttercream anybody ever makes or eats has salt in it.
Oh, I didn't
So
know
it makes
that.
a huge difference. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that, man. I don't have a sophisticated palate, I guess I would say. I've always been a big freak about German chocolate cakes. Or what's that, the Black Forest? The one with the cherries? What is it called, Black
Oh,
Forest?
yeah. Yeah, that is the Black Forest with the black cherries and what's the liqueur?
Yeah,
I just lost it. But I first had it at Andre's here in Little Rock, and we don't make it a lot because you have to shave the chocolate, and chocolate blocks are pretty expensive right now.
Oh, I bet.
And they melt really fast as well.
Right.
And we don't have a huge demand for it because it is sort of I think most people ate a lot of Black Forest back in the 80s, so
Right.
maybe you'll make it come back.
Say it's passe. It ain't the flavor of the month like it used to be. Didn't the chocolates went to the roof because they had some type of the cocoa plants or something had a drought or something happened this year. For some reason, chocolate went to the roof.
Yeah. I'm still getting a pretty good price on some chocolate Calais or chocolate chips that I buy. There's $20 difference here or there depending on who you're getting it from, and it's gone up approximately from 70 to 90, which is not a huge deal when you're talking about how much I get out of, and I think that's a 15, 20 pound case now.
Golly, 20 pounds of chocolate, dude. Oh man, dude, I would definitely be. It's one of those deals where I would be there for a week and get sick as a dog, probably 2 or 3 times, and then probably couldn't eat chocolate again for 2 years. You know how it is when you get on a bad drunk or which I ain't drinking in a long time, but you get on when you're back in college, you get on a bad drunk, you can never drink tequila again or whiskey again. I'm sure that's how I would be with chocolate. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, I'm a chocolate fiend. And, man, I've seen you do all kinds of... What kind of cupcakes y'all do, Steven?
What's that?
What's your big cupcake sellers?
Oddly, one that we mistakenly called Ding Dong. Like Hostess Ding Dongs.
Right.
Well, it's not the Ding Dong. The Ding Dong was a perfect little round hot puck type thing that's wrapped in aluminum foil, right?
Right.
You remember the Ding Dong?
Oh, yeah, I love those
the
Ding
Hostess
Dongs.
Cupcake.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, the Hostess Cupcake was just named Hostess Cupcake, and it had the chocolate that you could peel off, and it had the little white swirl going down
Right,
the middle.
because I like the orange version of
And
that.
the white cream. Yeah. Well, we do a version of the Hostess Cupcake.
Oh, man.
But when they started doing it, my younger employees, and they called it the Ding Dong. And I was like, that didn't sound right. I don't think that's it. But I didn't argue enough. And, of course, it was out there for several months before somebody mentioned it. And I was like, I knew that.
Right.
I knew it.
But the name stuck?
The name stuck.
Right. Hey, that's what happens, man.
And nobody ever really calls us out on it.
Well, hey, as long as they're buying them, does it matter? They call them fling dogs if they buy enough, right?
No. So it's a chocolate cupcake with a whipped filling with ganache over the top of it. That's one of our best sellers. And rightfully so. It's really
good. Dude, that sounds awesome. I'm glad once I figure out my back situation, they're basically saying at this point they don't think they can reattach this nerve to my back. I'm probably just going to be in pain for my life. Once I get my day squared away, I'm thinking about moving back to Little Rock possibly. And, man, if I do, dude, you'll have to beat me out of your store like a crackhead, I promise you. Man, because I like sweets. But I'm not a big sweet eater because I don't like store-bought sweets, really. You know what I mean? But I like homemade sweets.
No, they're very sugary. Yeah.
Right, well, I guess it's because it's a lot of preservative and chemicals and fat, you know what I mean, and not the good kind of fat, but I'm just not a big fan.
Yeah, the good stuff doesn't last very long.
Right, and Hostess, now that they've went bankrupt and opened back up, they've changed it. Something ain't right with Hostess. Hostess don't taste like it used to, you know what I mean? I tasted a Twinkie not too long ago, and there's something off. I know it used to be Interstate Brands. I think what was the Hostess company was the original title, but whoever's doing it now, they forgot something in the recipe because Hostess just don't taste right anymore, man. Just like I used to be a big fan of those, what they call them, banana flips or banana dreams that Dolly Madison used to make. Y'all make anything banana?
Well, I've had that stuff too, and I've had the same feeling. I thought, something's not right. But maybe it's our memory of it.
Right. Well, I heard that the deal is now is because they don't have so many. The bakeries, they had to cut down the number. I think I read this somewhere. Don't quote me on it or take it as fact. But so they had to cut down on so many bakeries that they're having to freeze this crap a lot more to transport it. And that's what's robbing the flavors. What I read somewhere. You know what I mean? That tends to rob the flavor out of it.
Huh. Now, I didn't read that. I thought you were going to talk about the hydrogenated oils and whatnot.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things you can't.
Right, that does make a difference, dude. You just don't. You get the hydrogenated oil, man. When it gets that film in your mouth and the roof of your mouth, dude, it's horrible, dude.
Yeah.
But
if it doesn't melt at my mouth temperature, then it's not going to be good.
No, I hate that film. It's like I was thinking. Being in Arkansas right now, dude, I'm thinking you could probably put a Razorback or a Trump on anything and sell the crap out of them. You know what I mean? Maybe you should rename the Ding Dong to Trump. Yeah, we need to start that. You know what I mean? Change it from Ding Dong and call it the Trump, dude. Maybe put a little orange whoop.
The Trump?
Yeah, call it the Trump instead of the Ding Dong. You never know, dude. People in Arkansas seem to love that Ding Dong. You know what I'm saying? Maybe put a little orange tuft or something on there. It looks like hair. That might be the one. That might be the golden ticket. Because that dude is a Ding Dong.
I think if somebody asked me to do something for Trump, I would I'd say no. I'd flat out tell him.
Well, I know you would, because I know you're a man of principles, and I know you feel the same way I do about Trump. And then the state of Arkansas, of course, we're in the minority. I don't know. It's because we try to stay up on politics, or know the difference between a con artist and somebody who's partially authentic. And people want to make. I hate to dip on politics. Huh? What are you saying?
Well, people ask me, and they're like, "Oh, they name all this positive stuff about him," and then I tell them, I was like, he lost me when he made fun of a disabled person.
Right.
He lost me when he said a lot of ignorant things, but he is definitely racist. He's
definitely.
He looks down on people. And just making fun of a disabled person is...
And that's what blows my mind too, Steven, because I'm trying to explain this to people. I'm sure by now you've seen this reporter. I forget what disability he has, but it makes it hard for him to move his joints. And when he moves, it's kind of spastic.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump basically flails around like a moron and just and this guy is a respected reporter that works for the New York Times. It ain't like he's working for the Omaha Tribune or something. This dude has overcome his disability and is working at the most prestigious newspaper in the country, which says a lot about this guy. You know what I mean? And for Donald Trump, who's a hack.
That alone.
Right. That's impressive. To be able-bodied and to make it to the New York Times is a very impressive feat as far as being in the newspaper business. But to overcome a disability where one of your arms barely moves and you're a writer and you have to type and take notes, and you overcome a joint disability where it makes it hard for you to write or almost impossible, and you still manage to pull it off and make it at the New York Times, and then have some, ham-handed Carney Barker,
a presidential candidate make fun of you.
Right.
Yeah, that's if Hillary did that.
Oh, it'd be over with.
I mean, I don't know what to think. I don't care who the hell they are. If Bill Clinton came back and he'd done that, fuck him, man.
That's something I don't figure out. I don't know if it's because he's a TV star and he said so many bombastic things, that he said so much crazy shit in the past that people give him a pass. But if any other legitimate politician said
you know what? They may be all used to it. Everybody that's watched his show, and they're like, oh, yeah, I like him.
Right.
I like all the ignorant stuff he
says.
Because
if any legitimate politician said a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian would matter, said a tenth of what he said, their careers would be over. And I'm saying, and he said this in a year's time. This ain't counting about what he said about the Central Park Five. They should be executed, and he wouldn't rent the black renters in the '70s when the Department of Justice filed that lawsuit against him, or the other 1,000 racist things he's done. You know what I mean?
Oh, but pointing out his one black friend out in the audience at that one time, I'm like,
oh yeah, my African American.
Yeah. You know how unnerving that had to be for that guy.
Right. And then come to find out that guy wasn't even a Trump supporter. I read an article that dude didn't even support Trump. He just wanted to come and hear him talk and see if he was as bad as he thought. And he was. That's honestly, I can't remember I read that, but the guy wasn't a Trump supporter. He wanted to come and hear if Trump was racist. And what does Trump do? Something completely racist and call him my African American. You know what I mean? Or the whole fact of this this minority outreach of his is a complete farce, dude. You know how he politicizes everything. He tried to cash in on Dwayne Wade's sister or cousin. She got killed the other day. She's got 4 kids.
Yeah, I saw it.
And he said that's why black folks should vote for Trump, because he can stop all the shootings in Chicago. But then again, if you're such a narcissist like him, today he said he could cure the drought in California. You know what I mean? That's climate change. Unless that dude becomes God or God like. Right. Well, it's preposterous. The claims he makes the claims of a con artist. You know what I mean? He super oversells everything with no plan, rhyme, or reason on how to actually do it. What's that?
He's going to Arizona, right? That's tomorrow or is that Friday? I forget, but. Going there to try to, I guess, talk to the minorities there that he's going to kick out and then build a wall to keep them out. Or vice versa. He's going to build a wall and he's going to kick them over the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what's this like?
I've read this like almost a year ago that he will, if he cannot receive, what was it? I forget the percentage, but a certain percentage of the Hispanic vote, then he will not be able
he'll drop out.
Become president because he needs a certain amount of votes from Hispanics, and he's not going to get it. So I've felt that if Hillary does not die, then there's no way that Trump will become president. And I felt like that for over a year.
I can't believe he had as good as a shot as he did 3 or 4 months ago before he just completely started blowing his feet off every day. Then he had that 2-week run where he done everything he could possibly do wrong. But he's claiming that he's going to get more percentage of black vote than any Republican history, and he's polling at 1% of the black vote. And this is before this last round of racist rhetoric he spit out. And he's only getting 12% of the Latino. Right. And you got to have, people don't realize this, and I try to explain this to people because I'm a political junkie. To win a general election on the national scale, you've got to have the minorities, and you've got to have college-educated women. That's what puts you over the top.
Yeah.
If you get the minority vote and college-educated women, you're shooting as president. That's how Obama did it both times. When everybody thought he couldn't do it a second time, and he wanted a landslide, it's because he got the minority vote and he got college-educated women. And right now, that's the big thing, that is the college-educated white women vote. And right now, Trump is doing poorly there. Yeah. And for good reason, because he's a misogynist, sexist creep. And I'm talking about he's a pervy, creepy, ooh type dude. You know what I mean? He just gives you the heebie-jeebies.
You don't
He's so
talk
creepy.
about your daughter the way he talked about his daughter.
Right, and people let that slide, Steven. Dude said he would have, if that wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating her. If Bill Clinton said that.
Which is what? If you're dating her, what are you doing with her?
Right, you're having sex with her.
Bastard.
Right. Can you imagine with as bad as, look, Donald Trump has had a bad rap with being misogynistic and sexist with his modeling agencies and his beauty contests, but just about Bill Clinton's checkered pants at women. Can you imagine if Bill Clinton come out and said if Chelsea wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating her? It'd be over with.
Oh, yeah.
But Trump does this on the regular. It just blows my mind how they give him a pass. Am I right? It's like, what does this dude have to do, man?
Republicans did it to themselves, though. I mean, they fucked it up. What were they thinking? What had 30 people running?
Right,
the nomination ridiculous.
Right, and there's a bunch of Republicans, and a lot of them are the working white poor who are fooled thinking because this guy's white, he's got my best interest at heart. When Donald Trump's and most Republicans, the only color they see is the color green, especially Donald Trump. But the fact that I know people who are educated, intelligent white people who give this dude a pass, and if any Democrat even said 100th of what this dude said, they ended up throwing him under 3 buses. You know what I mean? His career would be over. Look at Anthony Weiner. Anthony Weiner was a good politician, done good for the people, but he's a creep. You know what I mean? He's got some type of sexual hang-up, but he's a creep. And he's got caught again this week. Sexting some girl that he's never met on Twitter. His wife, rightly, has left him. Abedin. And now they're trying to tie Anthony Weiner into the Clinton campaign when it has nothing to do with it whatsoever. Huh?
Do you ever watch the With All Due Respect?
Oh, yeah. With they do a show on Showtime called The Circus. John Heidelberg and the other dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a series they're doing a presidential election series on Showtime called The Circus. That's real good if you ain't seen it, if you got Showtime.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't have Showtime. I'm a cheap bastard. So.
Well, man, I can slide you a password on the slide, but it's real good, dude, because it shows more the behind the scenes inner workings. You know what I mean? It's real fascinating because it shows you how they basically get in the room and just throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. You know what I mean? And basically that's what Trump is doing.
Yeah.
People don't realize this. In your lifetime, how old are you, Steven? You're about my age, right? I'm 43. How old are you, man?
I bet you I'm... Oh, well, we are close. I'm 47.
Okay, well, man, you sound way younger than me. Damn you, dude. Anyway, this dude, like I said, in our lifetimes, we have never seen a presidential election where a campaign manager has been fired in the middle of an election. We've seen Donald Trump fire 2 campaign managers. And now the chick running the Steve Bannon dude, who was the CEO of Breitbart, who's a racist, known and avowed racist, huh? But now he's got a poster running this campaign.
It's as bad as Fox.
Right.
He's got a what?
Steve Bannon is like a watered-down version of Alex Jones. You know what I mean? Basically, he's a watered-down version of Alex Jones, basically. But right now, that chick, I forget her name, who's now running this campaign under Bannon, she's a pollster. And I've never heard of a pollster running a campaign. So basically...
That's Kellyanne Conway,
right?
That's
it, Kellyanne Conway. She's a pollster. Never in my life have I ever heard of a pollster running a campaign. You know what I mean? So basically, he's just running on polls. I don't watch Fox News, and I'm sure you don't either, but he had some town hall with Hannity last week when he flip-flopped on his immigration stance like 4 times in 2 days.
Yeah,
and they
showed it, yes.
Well, right, which anybody else done, he'd be completely written off, but they said that he basically was polling the crowd like Caesar. Should we let them all stay or send some of them go, like thumbs up or thumbs down, like Caesar would back in the arena during gladiator games, you know what I mean? Which is a joke.
Yeah.
And like I said, I can't believe that this guy's had the shot he's had. And I don't think he believes, I've had a theory going for a while, and a mutual buddy of ours on Facebook, Jared Denton, has agreed with me for 3 or 4 months. I'm convinced.
Oh, yeah.
I'm convinced that I know. I got a buddy messaging me telling me he was a producer. Yeah, he was a producer, and he was a media mogul who took over Breitbart after that dude kicked and had a massive heart attack. But he's a avowed racist. You know what I mean? And he beat his wife up. These are facts. He said he didn't want his kid going to school with Jews, and he beat his wife up and was arrested for it. So it ain't like I'm making this up or this is, this is unfounded allegations. But what blows my mind is that when Trump flip-flops and stuff, people give him a pass on it. And I think Trump, like I said, is a mole. I've said it for 6 months. This dude was a Democrat most of his life. He was a registered Democrat in like 2009 until he started that birther crap with Obama. You know what I mean? That one lawyer chick, I forget her name, but was a dentist lawyer, started the original birther movement, but then he kind of co-opted it and took it over. Remember, and he was wanting Obama to turn over his birth certificate, and he did. He said he was going to show his tax returns.
Huge.
Oh, no.
I tell you, though, at the same time,
I got my same buddy. I ain't going to say who she is. She said, oh, my God, Is that the only word y'all know? Everyone is a racist, according to y'all. No, not everyone's a racist, but Donald Trump is a racist, and Steve Bannon is a racist. This ain't like stuff we're making up. This is documented. I didn't say Kellyanne Conway was a racist. She might be the smartest move he's made. Steven Lewandowski's a racist, and he's obviously he's had trouble passing women. Right? A lot of Republicans tend to be racist. I'm sorry, that's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? Back in the early 60s, it was Democrats who were racist.
I don't like it. I'm not.
Right, it ain't my fault.
I'd like it to be different. We need more. Right now, there's not a fight going on. Hillary is going to win.
Right, there's no more moderate Republicans. It seems like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People that are kind of moderate, that are conservatives, like your John McCain, who's nowadays super moderate compared to what's hijacked the Republican Party. But nowadays, the far right is hijacked.
I like McCain.
Yeah, I do too. And, Donald Trump called him a loser because he got captured. You know what I mean? And this is a dude who got 5 deferments, who dies to jail.
Another one. That's all you have to say, and I'm done with you.
Right.
You're a loser. You're a POW.
We're talking,
loser.
Look, my same friend keeps messaging me. She's coming on next, so we'll give her a chance. She said, why did Jackson come out in 1999 and say Trump has done a lot for the black community? We're talking about Jesse Jackson. Let me give you a little history about Jesse Jackson real quick. I hate to digress while I'm talking to you, Steven, but I'm getting this message on Facebook.
Oh, you're fine.
Jesse Jackson, I don't know if you've ever been to the Rainbow Hotel, the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis. If you ever get a chance, go, dude. It's every time I've been 3 or 4 times. Every time I go, they show the film of MLK giving the speech the night before he gets assassinated, talking about he knows people are trying to kill him. He's not scared to die. He probably ain't going to make it to the mountaintop speech. You know what I mean? It'll move you to tears. You know what I mean? But people don't realize this. When Martin Luther King was shot, and John Lewis and a bunch of other dudes that were there said that when he was shot laying there dead, Jesse Jackson was downstairs, run upstairs, rub MLK's blood on him, and then try to tell reporters at the beginning that MLK died in his arms. And this has been documented by several people who were there. And besides, Jesse Jackson's not the de facto. And this is where I don't get. Conservatives always want to mention Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson like they're the de facto spokespeople for blacks. You know what I mean? I don't know. I didn't know there was a de facto spokesperson for. Right. I didn't know they got elected the official spokespeople for African Americans. But Jesse Jackson is a cheater, womanizer. He's a sleazeball. Jesse Jackson ain't even a decent preacher. So I don't really put too much stock in what Jesse Jackson said in 1999. I will tell you this about Donald Trump. He took out a full-page ad against Central Park 5 and said they should be executed. And then when they got exonerated by DNA years later and won a big lawsuit against the city of New York, he shit on them again and said they shouldn't have been got a dime. He also had 2 suits filed against him from the State Department or the Justice Department because he wouldn't rent to black people. And these are facts. These ain't allegations. These are facts that actually happened. You know what I mean? So you can defend Trump on a lot of things, but trying to defend him and saying he's not racist is comical. Am I right? It's comical. He called a black dude by African American.
100%.
Am I right? Which is basically saying, I own the dude, basically. Trump is a racist, man. Look, says a lot of things, but who's a racist? You know what I mean? And that's why I don't understand. Even if you're not racist and you're conservative or independent and you back Trump, by proxy, you're condoning racism, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, a lot of people get mad when I say that. But you know what I mean? If I had back to murderer, that would
that's
be
the single most important reason to drop somebody. So it's not a bad thing to say that if you support somebody that says those things, then you say those things.
Right.
You agree that it's okay to make fun of a disabled person
reporter.
or a black person. Or if you support him, you say all those things he says is good or correct, and I want it.
Right. Now I'm getting a message he's hired more women and minorities than Hillary ever has. Hillary ain't really done any hiring. She's been in public life trying to serve the public. Look, here's the deal. It's documented fact.
Well, it depends on what they call by hiring. His businesses,
right.
and I don't think that's accurate. I'd like to see that.
I would like to see it too. I don't think that's very accurate. Sure, he's hired women, but hired more women than Hillary? No, I would doubt that. Or look, everybody that runs his company are his family members or his kids. Look, Donald Trump, his businesses are carrying like over $600 million worth of debt right now. You know, this is the guy who went to Louisiana after the governor.
There was a good show on his. Somebody wrote a book about his finances, and I guess the way he was in the 90s. Yeah, I don't know, but he's almost failed a few times, and he's an excellent showman.
Right, yeah. That's all he is. He's a modern day P.T. Barnum at best. That's all he is. How many times have you ever heard of a casino going bankrupt? He's bankrupted a casino 3 to 4 times. How do you bankrupt casinos? Nobody, how shitty of a businessman. Right. How shitty of a businessman you are to bankrupt a casino. You don't ever hear about a casino going bankrupt.
What? And most people, when he loses and he bankrupts a casino, it's a business move.
Right.
He's not doing, nobody's going, you're forced to bankrupt. No, he's doing that shit on purpose.
Right, so he can get pennies on the dollar in bankruptcy settlements. And see, people don't realize that. He's put so many small businesses and contractors out of business by going bankrupt on them and did renegotiate and paying pennies on the dollar. We're not talking about his modeling agency that they just now found out 90% of the models didn't have visas and were working illegally, and he made them work illegal hours. Or the Polish brigade that he was paying $3 an hour to build Trump Tower and was working them 14 hours a day. Right. Trump's not a good businessman.
I'm going to have to get off that bandwagon.
Which I just read, I forget where I read it, Stephen, I'd have to research it. But look, Trump's not even a good businessman. Warren Buffett's a good businessman, and Warren Buffett said he's a shitty businessman. Warren Buffett took $1,000, not $1 million that his daddy gave him, and then people don't realize this. He got $1 million. Then when his daddy died, he got $200 million. So he ain't really. Warren Buffett took $1,000 that he borrowed from his wife and turned it into $60 billion. That's a good businessman. And Warren Buffett's not backing Donald Trump, so he's not a good businessman. He's not a good human being. He's the most narcissistic person that's ever run for president, which is saying a lot. But he's the biggest egomaniac possibly ever. Am I right? Dude, that's why he's so
if somebody felt worse than he did, they didn't say it. They were smart enough not to say it.
Right. I'm talking about this dude he's definitely the most thin-skinned person I've ever seen in politics, who sits up on Twitter all night and makes fun of people. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about not on their policies or what they've done, but calls them names like you're in junior high or grade school, fat, ugly pigs. And he does that to women. He calls them stupid losers. You know what I mean? Donald Trump's had everything handed to him in life. He's never really worked a real job. You know what I mean? People can say what they want. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He said, for some dude who wants to talk about Colin Kaepernick, he's a draft dodger. He got 5 deferments from the Vietnam War. Not to mention he accepted a Purple Heart, which is disgraceful, instead of giving it back to him and saying it was the easy way to get one, which is casting shade on anybody who's ever been wounded and got a Purple Heart. You know what I mean? And people want to come, like I was saying earlier, people come down on Colin Kaepernick. I served in the military. People come down on Colin Kaepernick because he sat down to protest. Oh, yeah, Bill Clinton. That's right. Bill Clinton did dodge the draft. They did do that. But Bill Clinton ain't never claimed to be a non-draft dodger that knows more than the generals, like or Donald Trump, who said he don't need to consult generals because he's smarter than the generals. So let's not. Donald Trump is not what he says he is. He's a con man. So don't try to look. When these people are, you hear my Chromebook going on. People message me taking up for Donald Trump. Look, when you want to take up for Donald,
I wish I could hear them.
Right, you could take up. I'll read them to you. You could take up for any politician on the Republican side, except for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, look, like I said, he's a mole. I'm convinced he's a mole. He was sitting here to destroy the Republican Party and guarantee Hillary gets elected. If they had a checklist of everything not to do to get elected, he's checked every box twice. Would you agree? He's done everything he should not do to get elected.
It's unbelievable. I didn't blast this. I thought he was going to quit.
Right.
And
he's still right.
Well, I don't know. He's hired some smart people. He wants to ride it out, and then when he loses, he's going to blame it's all rigged, and they'll go on to make millions off of their little stories.
Oh no! Look, I got a message from the same person. No, I can go and find the quote where Trump said he don't need to consult generals because he knows more about what's going on about ISIS than they do. That's almost paraphrasing the exact quote of what Trump said. And as soon as I'm done talking to Steven, I will go and search that quote and quote it word for word here on my little podcast. That's why I love having my little podcast, even though I'm the left-leaning in the minority. If it's a fact, it's a fact. If Hillary's in the wrong, I'll say she's in the wrong. You know what I mean? I won't blanket defend Hillary. I'm not a big Hillary fan. I'm a Bernie guy. I'm not a big Hillary fan.
Yeah.
But what's the alternative? Psycho boy? This dude, this nut job? Donald Trump will bankrupt this country and get us blown off the map with the easy 12 months. And that's not saying if he ain't in cahoots with Putin to begin with. You know what I mean? You know, this dude openly asked Russian hackers to hack Hillary Clinton, and they did. That's treason where I come from. You know what I mean? But nobody makes a big deal about it. If Hillary went and asked Russian hackers to hack Donald Trump, the alt-right, the conservatives would blow their lid. Hillary runs Bill Clinton and Hillary, mostly Bill, runs the Clinton Foundation. It's one of the highest rated charities on the planet. It's rated higher than the Red Cross. It's got like an A-, A+ rating. 89% of all funds they have collected has went to help poor people, mostly in Africa.
And
you know what I mean?
Anytime that you get huge donations, anyone donating that money always knows that you get a little something in return. Whether it's tickets to a show, whether it's something, hey, can I sit in on this vote, or can I, whatever they're asking. That's normal with donations. You're giving, several $100,000. You're asking, hey, can I at least...
right.
I forget some of the things that they'd asked to do, but
you're going to get us some influence. You know what I mean? Donald Trump's even said that he don't. First of all, people don't even know this. Donald Trump gave Hillary Clinton $400,000 to run for Senate. 5 years ago, he said she was the best Secretary of State ever. That if anybody was qualified to do a deal with Iran, it was her. That she would make a top-notch president. 4 years ago, he was singing a total different tune. Give her $400,000 to run for Senate. Here's what's funny, though, Steven. So they show up at his wedding to his third wife. When's the last time you heard of a president been married 3 times and all of them were trophy wives? But let's get back to it. He donated money. She shows up at his wedding. I've seen where Donald Trump was sending them Christmas cards every year. And I saw a memo where they asked Bill Clinton if he wanted to send them.
He donated money.
Right, if that Donald Trump had sent a Christmas card, should they send a Christmas card back to Donald Trump? And Bill Clinton wrote on the memo, hell no. And I just watched the old documentary, right? I just watched the old documentary where Donald Trump had built this, and this is like 5, 6 years old, had built this fancy golf club. And young, I forget, Thurston Von Shitbag III, whatever Bill Barr calls him, the youngest one. The youngest Trump son was giving a tour to this reporter, this Australian reporter, and they go to these fancy lockers, and they all have brass nameplates, and he's like, this Jack Nicholson's a member. Jack Nicholson's a member, and this guy's a member. Then they walk up and says, William Jefferson Clinton. And he goes, yeah, Bill Clinton's a member here. He's one of my dad's best friends. Now, 4 years later, they're both the devil. You see what I'm saying? And people buy into this. Look, man, they had a chance to.
Hey,
I'm not a fan.
What it fits? It fits the fact that Hillary and Bill are supposedly these huge, conspiracy people that
killed
pull
everybody.
strings, kill people.
They've killed 1,000 people between them.
So why wouldn't they go to Trump and go, "Hey, I got a plan"?
Right.
And Trump goes, "Sounds fucking groovy."
Right. We'll pump up the worth of your brand so you can sell your shitty Chinese-made Trump ties for twice what they're worth now. And all you got to do is take the Republican Party and guarantee Hillary wins. Why wouldn't they do that if they're so evil? If they're the evil geniuses that the alt-right, the conservatives make them out to be, why wouldn't they use Trump as a mole? Am I right? Because I get tired of seeing every day, all of a sudden when Trump says the election's rigged, now everybody on the right says the election's rigged. No, Trump's going to lose on his own merit because he's an idiot, that he don't have a filter, and he don't know when to shut up. Trump's going to lose because he's not qualified, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a misogynist. This ain't stuff I'm making up. This is stuff that's been documented.
The best thing you can say about him is that he's doing this on purpose.
Right. But now, because Trump said it's rigged, now all these conservatives are saying it's rigged. But guess what? He said the Republican primary was rigged too till he won it. And then after he won it, he goes, well, it ain't rigged no more. You know what I mean? So he's that kid. I've said this over and over again. He's that kid that when we were kids, Steven, they had the basketball, and once you started beating him in basketball, he would take his ball and go home. That's Donald Trump. You know what I mean? It's rigged until he wins. But if he loses, it ain't because he's a shitty candidate or he's not qualified. He lost because it's rigged. You know what I mean? It's not because he's a loser or he sucks, because of course he can't suck. He's Donald Trump. You know what I mean? The greatest human being to ever live. Yeah. And I just had my friend message me and said Hillary Clinton could kill baby Jesus on live TV and liberals would defend her. No, I wouldn't. I'm not a big fan of Hillary.
Not baby Jesus. I love baby Jesus.
We love baby Jesus. We love baby Jesus and grown Jesus. Anyway, yeah. But baby anybody, it could be baby James. But look here, I'm not a big Hillary fan. When it comes down to, you know what you get with Hillary. You know what I mean? She's qualified. She's had every job but the presidency. She's been the first lady. The second, am I right?
She's not very personable.
And
that's the biggest problem.
Right. I'm sure half the time when Bill was president, she was throwing in ideas with president half the time her damn self. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Oh, now they're saying the guy who, now they're saying the guy who said that built the software. I've seen that video where the guy, he didn't build the software, he's one of the software engineers for election software, who said you could hack it. I'm an IT guy. I've said for years, don't ever use a computer to vote. Anything that's networked can be hacked. I don't care how secure it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Always use a paper ballot. But the guy who invented the, let me tell you, now I can educate you. They dipped off and got my world now. Let me tell you about the guy who invented the first computerized voting machine. This guy built the software, right? Sold it to the state of Nebraska. He's from Nebraska. I forget his name. You're going to love this, Steven. This dude, after he sold him the voting machine, the computerized voting machine, decides he wants to run for the U.S. Senate. Dude is down by almost 20 points 3 weeks before the election and wins by 11 points. But there was nothing illegal there. Dude made a 30-point swing in 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? But yes, it can be hacked. Look, Trump's going to lose because Trump sucks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's just a chance.
You can't. They break it to defeat Trump.
Will not get the minority vote.
Right. That's why Trump is going to lose. It ain't because it's rigged. It's because he's not going to get college-educated white women, and he's not going to get the Latino or black vote. You know, I'm sorry, white people. Me being a white guy, the white guys don't run. We've had a good run. We've run the world for a few thousand years now. Our time has come. You know what I mean? Our day is almost over.
A little bit of perception.
That's the way it goes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not panicked about it. You know why? Because I'm not racist. Some of my best friends are black and Latino. And so if they do have that race war all these conservatives are scared about, I think I'll be one of the last white guys to get killed. You know what I mean? Because I've actually treated minorities decent all my life.
I don't know. So somebody may be just driving down the street all happy.
That's true. That's true. But luckily, right now I live out in the middle of nowhere, so I don't really fear that problem. But like I said, I'm not a Hillary fan. I don't blanket defend her, but she's qualified. And the whole, she's killed anybody that's been associated with her and Bill. There's 300 people that's been killed. Anybody that talks bad about them comes up mysteriously dead. You can't kill that many people without eventually getting indicted, even if you're Hillary Clinton. That's foolish talk.
Yeah.
The whole she's having these seizures and questioning her health. That video's joke. She's just jacking her head back, laughing, being comical, and now they're saying she's having seizures, and it's Alex Jones conspiracy. Have you seen it? You've seen it, right? Have you seen the video?
Yeah.
And they're saying there's a.
No, I didn't see the video.
And is that your wife laughing?
No, I don't know who the hell that was.
Oh, but anyway, they said, she's talking to these reporters, and three reporters ask her something at one time, and she does her head all goofy and does these spastic, weird motion, making fun of them. And they said that she's having seizures and stuff, and that there's a Secret Service guy right there with an EpiPen to stab her with the EpiPen. Come to find out that the EpiPen is a flashlight. You know what I mean? As they researched it, and then just last week, Alex Jones has drug Jimmy Kimmel into it by saying that Jimmy Kimmel brought on this show and made fun of Alex Jones and had her open a pickle jar. Have you seen that?
No,
well,
had
a week or two ago, Alex Jones, the king of conspiracy, he believes that half the world is run by half lizard people. You know what I mean? That's what makes me, when people take Alex Jones seriously, I'm like, you do realize that guy says the world is a cabal being run by lizard alien people. So after he says that, you got to dismiss anything else he says. You know what I'm saying? Really? But, like I said, Alex Jones, she goes on Jimmy Kimmel. Well, they're making this big deal about she's not physically fit. Alex Jones floats this conspiracy, and all his conspiracies here lately have been picked up by the Trump campaign and watered-down versions, and they try to float it through the mainstream media. Well, he brings her on the show and has her open up the pickle jar. Well, she opens up a pickle jar, and I'd be damned if Alex Jones don't go to the show the next day and says it was staged, the pickle jar was rigged, that it didn't pop when she opened it, that it was already pre-opened for her, and all this other shit. So Jimmy Kimmel thinks it's funny, right? And he comes back over there and makes fun of Alex Jones. Then it's Alex Jones goes to this tirade the next day about it on his show about Jimmy Kimmel has to do it because he's scared that Hillary Clinton will have him killed if he don't rig the pickle jar. And, this is serious, which is hilarious, dude. They're talking about a pickle jar. So last night he had Wolf Blitzer there, and he got Wolf Blitzer to open the pickle jar and said he hopes he don't have Wolf Blitzer don't kill him next. Yeah, this is no lie. Alex Jones has said this. Alex Jones's website, InfoWars, also got hacked yesterday, and 50,000 usernames were turned over in their passwords. So if you're paying money to Alex Jones, you're silly anyway to give that dude $20 a month, because I can make a better conspiracy to him, and I'll do it for $10 a month. So if you want to hear wacky conspiracies about Hillary, I'll do it for half price. Send me $10 a month, and I'll make up better conspiracies for half the money. Maybe I should start me a website. You know what I'm saying? We're going to business together. Me and Steven will start Hillary conspiracies for half the price, $9.99 a month. That's all you got to do. Start sending us money, right? And Steven might even mail you a cupcake.
That's right.
If you act now, he'll ship you 2 free cupcakes. Right now, $10.
Cupcakes for conspiracy theory.
We'll call them Clinton cakes. We'll call them Clinton cakes. And every 100th one has cyanide in them, so we'll secretly kill somebody. It's like Russian roulette with cupcakes, man, Clinton style.
Exactly.
But like I said, man, it's just ludicrous, dude. There's been so much just crap. Look, Hillary's not the devil. I like Bernie better, but is she more qualified? Yes. Is she going to do stuff that I don't like? Yes. But is there ever a candidate that does 100% of what you like? No. You know what I mean? Is Donald Trump probably sandbagging it for her? I believe he is. And I know I told you I'd only keep you for an hour, Stephen. And we didn't got off on a tangent because I get these messages taken up for Donald Trump, which is silly to me. If you're going to defend him, defend something that's defensible. You can't defend him for not being a bigot, a racist, or a good businessman.
Bottom line is...
What's that?
Yeah, bottom line is we care about people.
Right.
And when you make fun of somebody that's disabled, a
right.
minority,
that says it all right there.
That's trouble.
I'm 100% with you on that.
I care about those people. So I honestly don't want hate. That's what I'm against.
All right, I'm 100% with you right there, Stephen. anytime a grown man or even my son's 12 years old, if I see him making fun of a disabled person like Donald Trump made fun of that reporter, I would probably slap him cross-eyed. I ain't gonna lie to you. I would definitely probably tan his hide. You know what I mean? I ain't had to whoop my son in years because he knows better. And he's 12 years old. Donald Trump is 70 and don't even know better and makes fun of disabled people. Any 10-year-old child knows better. You know what I mean? Trump is more immature than 12-year-old kids.
For no voting.
But, like I said, I told you I would keep you for an hour. What's your number up to the cake company? Blue Cake Company in Little Rock, Steven? The number is?
501-868-7771.
77 what?
771.
3 sevens and a 1. So that's 501 8.
That is correct.
Regardless,
86.
But you can go to your Facebook page. All your info's there, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
The Blue Cake Company, man, come back anytime, dude. We'll talk about cakes more. Hopefully it'll be after the election and Trump loses, so I won't have all these Trump lovers digging me in and firing me up, trying to defend the indefensible. Bottom line is, dude's a bigot, a misogynist who makes fun of disabled people. He's a piece of shit.
Unfortunately.
But would you agree with that statement? That's a fair statement, am I right? Anybody who makes fun of disabled people is a piece of shit as a human being in my book. And all the Facebook messages in the world won't change my opinion. But the Blue Cake Company, they make the finest cakes. I'm gonna go ahead. I know you're a humble man. I've never tasted them, but from the looks of them, I know they're the finest looking cakes in Arkansas. I'm going to say some of the best tasting cakes in Arkansas. Cookies and cupcakes. Blue Cake Company in Little Rock. Check them out. And I'm sure for the right amount, you'd even ship a cake. Do you ever ship cakes?
I have, and it hadn't turned out well. So
really?
But I can ship cookies and petit fours.
But if you're within an hour of Little Rock, why not drive an hour and get a cake instead of having one of crappy sheet cakes from Walmart? You know what I mean? Somebody just squirted happy birthday on it. Probably spelled birthday wrong. You know what I mean? But like I said, Steve, I'm glad you came on, man. I've had a blast talking to you. Man, you're welcome back anytime, dude. Hopefully it'll be after the election so we won't get dinged out about Facebook. And I'm going to let my next guest come on because she's the one fired up about Donald Trump. And and she should know by now that I got facts on my side. You know what I mean? And I'm big on facts. I'm not big on opinion. So she's probably going to lose this. If not, she'll probably hang up on me. But like I said, I've kept you 7 minutes too long, Steven. I appreciate you coming on, man.
I'll try to listen in on you. And,
hey, feel
I
free.
appreciate it, Byron. Had a lot of fun.
And if you hear something that's not factually accurate, feel free to message in on Facebook and let me know, my friend. You can rename the dingers.
I'll
all right, well, man.
All right, bro.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you. Have a good one, Steven.
All right, you too, Byron.
All right, I'll holler at you later, brother. All right, well, that went longer than I thought, but I'm glad it did, even though we got on 20, 30 minutes of politics. Man, I'm stopped up because of one, I'll say it now, one Lisa Reeves, who I'm about to call. Obviously, let me get some water first, Lisa. We were going to talk about JFK conspiracies. I'm sure we'll eventually get to that. But we could talk Hillary conspiracies before that because God knows there's plenty of them. And there's plenty of Trump facts that we can throw at it. So let me get a drink of water. And so bear with me about 20 seconds of dead air, maybe less. Oh, man. All right, man. I need to take some. I'm all right. I'm back. I need to take some sinus medicine. I've definitely got stopped up. Now, let me call Lisa Reeves because she was fired up about Donald Trump. And Lisa, I'm gonna give it to you, which I've always known you have big cojones, but to come on here and try to battle me and defend Trump, that's some big cojones coming to the lion's den. Rawr! So let me call Lisa up because she is fired up about it. Hopefully we'll get to talk about some actual Kennedy conspiracies instead of, hey.
I tell you, you fire me up, dude.
I know you're fired up. Look here. We can talk about
I'm not gonna talk politics though.
Good. Let's talk about
Because
JFK. Look, Donald Trump ain't a great person. He made fun of crippled people.
Well, I'm not going there with you because I'm just not.
Okay. Well, good. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump.
I'm off my near-death experience today. You know, I had a near-death experience
Which is a great story. We can talk about that too. Also, we want to talk about JFK, and I'm going to talk about Cooter Brown. But for those who don't know, in my hometown of Forest City, Arkansas, they're having the annual St. Francis County Fair. Today was the first day, right, Lisa?
Yesterday was the first day.
Yesterday. My bad day's Tuesday, ain't it? Was it day Monday or Tuesday? You got me confused. Today Tuesday?
Today's Tuesday. But I was there because I'm the only judge for the photograph the photo contest.
Okay, well, that's because you're a professional photographer. Makes sense.
Yeah, but I expected at least a couple more people, not just me.
Right, which, I'm sure a lot of people who, some people listen to this. Oh, man, I'm starting to have back spasms. Oh, man.
There was a lot of pictures turned in, though.
Really? Oh, man.
I would say there was probably a couple hundred.
Oh, man, I'm having back spasms. Keep talking, man. I'm trying to fight through the pain.
But there was no professionals turned in any photos at all.
No, Rob Rickey won that one year.
They were all kids, and they were all amateurs.
Well, which you are a talented photographer, and you are a pro. It seems like when Facebook popped up, a bunch of people just went and bought digital cameras and started calling themselves photographers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I come from the old school. I mean, I got my first camera when I was 9 years old. I got a Minolta X370, and back then I got it for Christmas, and I think the whole setup was like $400. Hey, well, that was a lot of money back in 1979, 1980.
Well, not to mention that people Rob won the photography contest out there one year. People don't realize this. My good buddy Ron Lipke has a degree in photojournalism, and he actually can develop, he can develop photos in a darkroom.
That's what I was going to say. I actually took a class to develop pictures when I was.
To me, if you can't develop in a field in a dark room, you're not a real photographer in my book. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, people don't understand. I mean, a lot. I mean, most people don't take their cameras off of automatic.
Right.
Right. They don't know anything.
And they don't understand about lenses or filters or zooms or gels,
white balance.
Right. Or how to frame a photo, juxtaposition.
Now, you can actually. We're kind of getting off here, but you can actually teach someone everything they need to know about photography. I mean, teach them all the buttons where they can control the camera in manual mode totally. But if they don't have an eye, if they don't know how to frame a picture or to different angles, if they don't have some type of creative vision
or lighting and shades,
I'm an artsy person.
Right, you are. You're a talented photographer,
and I've never had any type of. And I say that it was a God-given talent.
Right. Well, I've always had an eye for taking pictures. Man, I got a decent eye, and like you said, but I'm a creative type person, like you are, like and that's part of it. And you can, like you said, you can have all the technical talent in the world, and if you don't have the eye, it makes no difference. It makes no difference in the world.
And a lot of people think that me and you're like vastly different. How in the world can we be friends? We're more alike than we are.
Well, look, man, usually. This year we was actually agreeing a little bit for a while in politics, man, until you just jumped back on the Trump train all of a sudden and rode the wheels off of it.
I never got off the Trump train. I look at Trump as not a Republican.
Well, you jumped from the caboose back up to the front end.
I looked at Trump as a third party that overtook the Republican Party because there's still Republicans that hate his guts.
Right, for good reason. He's destroyed their party.
No, well, the media, man, you know this, the media is owned by 5 major entities.
Right, 5%. Right.
And they all sing the same. I mean, if you were to go from newscast to newscast to newscast, it would seem as if they're reading off a script.
Right, but you do realize this, though.
I don't trust anything that the media says.
I don't either. I don't like to be spoon-fed my news anyway. I like to read, do my own research, and form my own opinion. But you do too. But you also realize that four of the five CEOs that own these media conglomerates are all conservatives. You do know that, though, right? That this vast left-wing Jew-run media is a myth that does not exist. Summer Redstone's a conservative. Rupert Murdoch's a conservative.
Differ. the media is liberal as all get outs, and if you can't see that, then there is something bad wrong with you.
Well, be honest with
Okay,
you.
now let's get off this. Let's talk about what about this Cooter Brown thing?
Okay, well, before we get to Cooter Brown, hold up. Well, first, let's go back to You Almost Died Today. Well, if you're friends with me on Facebook or friends with Lisa, Lisa goes out. You can tell. I'll get it going. You can finish the story. She's out there because you're judging photography contest. How's that going anyway? What's it looking like? Any kids got the
It's
high?
over with. I was all finished up by 3:00.
So who's the big winner? Who was the big winner, Lisa?
You're not going to believe this. Did not look at one single solitary name. I made sure all the names were covered up. Cannot tell you. But the overall, the best in show, which was the best picture, was all I know is a beautiful black and white 5x7 that appeared to be taken at the Kid Museum in St. Louis.
Really?
And it was the coolest. It was like this metal slide. It looked, I can't explain it. But
Oh yeah, you have to see me. I have to
lighting.
look at it. It'll be in the paper or something on it. Maybe I'll get Kindle.
I would assume that it's going to be in the paper.
Right.
But I immediately, when I saw that picture, I was like, it's going to take a lot to beat this.
You know, you're talking about beautiful photographs, and I've been telling everybody, even you. I know you own a Roku box. Go buy a Chromecast. It's the best gadget you can buy for $35. It makes any dumb TV a smart TV. But what makes it really awesome, and why you would like it so much, Lisa, is when it's standing idle like it does now. It shows you the best photographs in the world of the day that people have taken today.
Yeah.
Some are professional, some are amateurs, some come from national parks. But anyway, the photographs it shows are beautiful. Right now I'm looking at a windmill in Holland, and it's unbelievable on a lake with lily pads, and it's unbelievable. But you can tell they've been super tweaked. You know how they take the computer software now and super tweak it.
We won't even start talking about that. Half the pictures you see now that a lot of these
But if it's done right, though, it's
photo
stunning.
moms are putting out are so photoshopped.
Right,
that it kills
but this ain't the Photoshop as much as the colors have been tweaked out to the max.
Now, yeah, the color, yeah.
Right, but when it's done right, it's stunning. But a lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing, and it comes out looking cheesy.
No.
You know what I mean? But I'm like you. I'm big on black and white. I really like
Too.
black and white photographs. You know what I mean?
Black and white is timeless. You can't
It is
beat black
timeless.
and white. It's, I mean, if you can take a color photo and you can pretty much put a time and date on it
Right.
by what they're wearing, but you can take a black and white photo that's done
Right.
properly.
And you can't
It's
tell
just
if
beautiful.
unless they're wearing something that's ultra trendy, you can't tell when it was taken. Right.
Yeah.
And you know,
That's
it's
true.
just like
I
with
mean,
film.
you're-
You know,
you're
I'm
correct.
I'm a big super film nerd, and that's why it blows my mind when people are like, "Why would you watch black and white film?" Black and white. First of all, most black and white films are the best
Oh,
films
my
made,
gosh.
but they're timeless. You know what I mean?
They're and they have such storylines to
Right.
them.
Well, everything
I mean,
nowadays has
you're
been ripped
actually
off.
getting some.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you very rarely find any good new movies.
Right, because it's ripping off something
It's all
that was in black and white.
reprocessed junk.
Right, everything's been ripped off. You know what I mean? Everything's been stolen. Nowadays,
There's everything that comes out seems to be all these Marvel movies.
right, rehearsed. And don't
these
get me wrong.
DC
Look, I'm a big comic book nerd from back in the day, and I'm a DC guy.
I am too.
Right, I know you are. Ooh, I'm seeing a black and white photo right now from Getty Images. That's awesome.
I actually owned the #9 Superman.
What? You about to get a B&E
Yeah.
at your house. You better hope Todd ain't home.
No, well, I don't have it anymore.
Huh? You
It
better
was
hope it's in Todd's big gun safe.
It was one of my ex-beaux that bought it for me.
What a dummy.
And then after, huh?
He was a dummy, because if I'd have broke up with you, I'd definitely got that Superman back. You can keep the
Heck
ring.
no, I took that sucker. I was like, after 5 years.
Oh, so
I'm
you
like,
stole
I
the
think I'm keeping
magazine.
this number
I'd be
nine.
like, you can keep the ring, lady, but I'm going to
No.
need that Superman back.
No.
But like I said, see,
he bought
Superman-
me 2 gifts in 5 years.
See, Superman's DC. You know, when it comes to
Yeah.
when it comes to comic book world, most people are DC guys or the Marvel people. I've always been a DC guy. You're Superman, you're Batman. Green Lantern's my dude. You're Green Lantern.
I did collect all the spawns when they come out. I had every one of
Right.
them.
And you know, Marvel, of course, is Spider-Man, your X-Men, all that. But when it comes to making movies, man, Marvel has been wiping the floor with DC. Their movies have been
Look here.
unbelievable. Deadpool.
And you may totally disagree with me,
Have you seen the new
but
Suicide
to
Squad?
me,
Huh?
the best Batman is
George
Tim
Clooney.
Burton's Batman.
With who?
No.
Ben Affleck?
Tim Burton is. No.
Oh, the Tim Burton movie. Yeah, well.
Yes.
Man, I like Tim Burton, and don't get me wrong, I did like Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Joker because it was more comical, more back to
that dude, he was smart, wasn't he?
Right, but
asking for that 1% of all the merchandise.
But it harkened back to that Cesar Romero Batman from the Adam West show. But
yes.
But when you look at the Christopher Nolan Batmans, which are taken from the serious Batman, which is the graphic novels, the Dark Knight series, and that came out when I was probably 17, huh? Well, the Dark Knight series came out when I was like 17, and it was the first time in a comic book where they cussed, had sex, and Batman killed people. You know, before that, it was all comic book code. Nobody really died and all that. You know what I'm saying? And that was the first real gritty Batman.
But do you know that Adam West does not have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
I thought he got one. I thought I just saw a documentary and he got one. I just watched a documentary about it.
He did not get it at the. I watched that same documentary, and at the end, he didn't get it.
Well, that's a travesty. Man, just for the fact what he does for Family Guy, the voices for Family Guy and Batman alone should get him there, you would think.
For nothing else for Batman.
Right, but it ain't like he just done Batman. He's been Adam West on Family Guy now for 10 years. You know, he's done more work. He's done enough work to where he should qualify. You know, more diverse.
But did you see, though, how they have to, they really campaign to get those stars on there.
Oh, yeah, it's like at Hollywood. People don't realize this. The whole Oscar deal is like a political campaign. These studios pay big money to send all this free crap and these screeners out to these people who vote the Academy of Film Arts. You know, they send out all these screeners and all these perks and free crap and, you know, gift bags, and they can't pay for this shit. It ain't like it used to be where they would sit down and try to pick the best movie. Now it's who's got the best campaign a lot of times. That's why nowadays, when somebody wins Best Picture, I don't agree with it. I did last year, though. I did think Spotlight was the best movie last year. Spotlight was a great movie.
Spotlight was an awesome movie.
That was a great movie. Awesome movie. It was
Trumbo was an awesome movie.
It was. Trumbo was awesome. And, you know, what was it that one year, man, when I'm not a big rom-com guy, but I'm still in love with that movie. I watched it because they were Eagle fans. Silver Linings Playbook. You know what I mean? That should have won Best Picture that one year.
You know, I've never watched that movie.
That movie's great. That's the greatest romantic comedy ever made. It's better than Harry Met Sally. And that's high praise coming from me. I love Harry Met Sally.
Harry Met Sally is pretty good now.
Right, it's better than Harry Met Sally. I fell in love with Jennifer and Lawrence in that movie. Her and Bradley Cooper are magic together in that movie. And the only reason I started to watch that movie is because I had read part of the book. And I knew the family were Philadelphia Eagle fans. So I watched it because I like Bradley Cooper and I like David O. Russell, who's the director, and they were Philadelphia Eagle fans. And the movie's fantastic.
You know, we have totally gotten away. We started talking about
Cooter Brown. I'm still on it
today.
But you almost getting killed.
I don't know how we ended up.
Because I have ADHD, like I said. My conversations, as you know, tend to wander.
So, hey, it's not good when two people with ADHD
right.
get on the
we would go off on tangents or five. But hold on, let me turn this AC off.
Okay, basically, I showed up to the fair today around 10 o'clock. Parked my truck over by this tree, about a 65-year-old oak, 3 or 4 feet away. I said, well, it'll be in the shade all day. Go in, take care of business.
Right.
About 2 o'clock, I started getting this feeling that I needed to go move my truck.
Right.
I'm like, I was thinking to myself, I've only got about 35, 40 minutes left, and I'll be done. Well, I told Tammy Talley, I was like, look, I'm fixing to go out to my truck. Went out to my truck, got in it, and sat there for about a minute and a half, said, why are you moving your truck? I went ahead and cranked it, moved it over by the exhibit hall, cut it off, got out, took, about 10 steps, and whoosh!
Right.
I looked back behind me,
and I saw a picture.
That whole tree had fallen.
If anybody's listening to this who are the friends of mine or Lisa's on Facebook or from our old hometown or her town of residence now, you can see the tree. I'm talking about it's like the whole 3/4 of the top of the tree, and it's green. It's not like it was struck by lightning or it was dead.
No, it wasn't. It was a healthy tree. It didn't come up by the root. It broke off about 3 foot from the ground.
Right. It's very
And,
freakish.
I mean, I just,
What's-
it unnerved me after
I
it
bet.
happened.
I mean, it was massive enough to where it was
I mean,
kids. You'd be seriously injured or dead right now. It was that big of a tree.
Oh, yeah.
And that's no
yeah.
exaggeration.
No exaggeration
But,
whatsoever.
why am I
You know,
this real quick?
I've been in some
I didn't want to interrupt you,
pretty
but
hairy situations.
right, well, God knows I've had my way too many near-death experiences. But what I was going to say is, me and Lisa have been trying to discuss what we're going to do because I consider Lisa one of my executive producers, her and my good buddy Bart Shankles, because she was nice enough, her and my good buddy Todd Lee Gray, to provide me with this fancy condenser mic I'm using in this Chromebook I'm broadcasting on. And they're generous hearts, and they helped the broke brother out, crippled brother out to up his podcast game. And I
Us
appreciate
evil
that.
conservatives.
Right. Which is awesome
I'm an
because
evil
Bart
conservative,
Shankles is a super liberal. He's a Jill Stein supporter. So that shows you I'm getting love from both sides of the aisle. I'm getting the super liberal love and the super conservative love. So see, I'm not that bad of a guy. But what I was trying to say is that
I'm not a Republican, though.
Oh, I know. I said conservative.
I'm a conservative.
What I was trying to say is that I'm that now that I have so much time because I can podcast up to 3 hours, even though most professional podcasts go about 2. You know what I mean? Some go 3, but
Yeah.
now I got to instead of doing just one interview like I used to do, where I'd go off on a 45-minute editorial. Now I got to format it like I did back in broadcasting school at A State, and I got to do segments. And being new, I got to throw crap against the wall and see what sticks, and try to figure out new, recurring segments. So if anybody listening has any ideas, feel free to volunteer ideas because I'm willing to try anything. Me and Lisa's going to try to do a recurring segment where we talk about famous conspiracies, which brings us forward to the biggest conspiracy of all time, the JFK assassination, which is by far is the most documented, analyzed, scrutinized conspiracy of assassination of all time. Wouldn't you agree, Lisa? By far. The movies,
and,
documentaries,
a lot of
books.
people that don't know.
I don't know of anything that's been scrutinized as
next
much.
October,
Do you?
No, absolutely, it's been covered.
Scrutinized any which way you can.
A lot of things. A lot of people don't realize that in 1979 the House Select Committee on Assassinations
Right.
met.
Right.
And they concluded
Concluded that it wasn't a single shooter.
What killed him was not poor old Oswald, but
Right.
a second shooter.
Right, that it wasn't a single
And a lot
shooter.
of people don't realize that Oswald was a CIA asset from
The Bay of Pigs and all
shortly
that.
after he got into the Army.
Right, when they sent him to Russia, he was allegedly a mole, a double agent.
And his high school records were closed. The FBI, sealed them up.
Right.
There's been several books written about there being multiple Oswalds
Right. There's
that the
been
government was
there's
using.
been so many. I've seen at least 20 documentaries. I've probably read half a dozen books, but I've actually been to the book depository building. I actually got through out. I went there. This is a pretty funny story. My cousin Michelle had tickets to a Yankees Rangers game. She had 2 tickets. She didn't want to waste, so me and Rob Lipke, my good friend, decided we were going to go and watch the game. The only reason I wanted to go is to go to the book depository building because I'm a JFK conspiracy fanatic, and I finally had a chance to go to the spot. You know what I mean? Which is kind of macabre and kind of morbid, but I had to see it for myself. But Willie Nelson was also playing that weekend. Rob's a big Willie guy. I'm a big Willie guy, so that was how I sold Rob.
Just kill 2 birds with one stone.
Right. So we ended up killing 3 birds. So we get there. Michelle really didn't want to be there. So if anybody's ever been, let me tell you. First of all, it's a lot like going to see where MLK got killed. This is what makes it shady right out the gate, just like it does at the Lorraine Motel. You can't actually go to the window at either spot to see where the actual lethal shot come from. They got it encased in glass, which automatically should make you suspicious if you can't look out the same window. But it's such mind-blowing.
Well,
Have you been there? You've been there, right?
I've not been there. But
Oh,
a
Lisa,
quick
this is
little
what blows
fact
your
about
mind.
The Texas School Book Depository.
Oh, this is what blows your mind about going to the book depository
that
building. Is when you
was
walk.
actually owned by the government.
Right. It held old textbooks, school books, government books. Look, here's what blows your mind. You pay your money. The tour is only supposed to last for 2 hours. I sat there for 8.5 hours. They threw me out for being there too long. And I'm in there like Junior Sleuth. I got a notebook. I'm taking notes. I'm doing, you know what I mean? I'm over here fucking computing. Oh, she's my lady. I moved up hip-hop. I'm over here computing, trying to work out trajectories. You know what I'm saying? Rob Lipke, this is hilarious, true story. There's an elderly black guy who's taking us on this tour. Rob Lipke's usually not this type of guy. I said, Rob Lipke blurts out at him, "You're lying for the FBI. You're telling lies for the FBI." And gets all fired up. And I kind of grab Rob and calm him down because he's accusing this old black guy who's probably making $9 an hour, who's giving this, regurgitated speech he's got to give every 3 hours as some type of pawn for the FBI. You know what I mean? But they threw me out because I stayed there for 8.5 hours. It was only open 8 hours. And they let me stay extra 20 minutes, and they finally threw me out because I wouldn't leave. That's because, look, when you walk in, it's mind-blowing. Because it's like walking through, I've been to Disney World, I've been to all these Six Flags, but this is like going back in time. When you walk through the door, Lisa, there's an old radio that cracks on. The president's been shot, and it's a 1963 radio. All the boxes are set the same. I get chill bumps talking about it. It's like you walk back through a portal of time. Everything's exactly the same in that room. You know what I mean? The boxes are stacked the same. It's old, dusty cobwebs. I'm talking about it looks just like the pictures. And I get chill bumps. I'm talking about it's incredible. I don't know how to explain it. If you ever go to Dallas...
Well, what happened?
Huh?
What happened that day truly changed.
It
truly,
did.
Totally.
It did. Well, it was as a famous song says, that's the day the music died. But that was the day that the powers that be, this is my opinion, this is going to sound real Alex Jonesy, but this is my opinion. That was the day where the military-industrial complex in corporate America finally basically took over our government. Started to totally take over our government.
He made a few months prior. Kennedy was really, really mad, hated the CIA.
Right.
Hated them.
Well, look at what Eisenhower said.
The speech he gave.
Eisenhower
said
that the industrial military complex would take over the government.
Against the military-industrial complex.
Right, would take over the government.
What did Kennedy say in a speech he made a few months prior? He said that, we had no room for secret, entities.
Right, because
in the United States.
Right, because
he said he was going to
disband it, basically.
What was it? He was going to take the CIA and turn it into throw it in like pieces against the wind, something like that.
Right.
But he was
upset to the wind, didn't he? Chaff to the wind or something like that.
Yeah.
That's because he got in there and he saw
pigs thing.
Right, he saw that all the shadowy, covert black ops crap the CIA had been doing that was so un-American and so evil that it went against the very fabric of what this country stands for. And it's only got 10 times worse.
If any of y'all out there ever want to read L. Fletcher Prouty, he was a colonel, and he was an army guy, but he was a liaison to the CIA, and they came to him whenever they needed certain things.
Right.
And he was with the military for 20-something years and held this position. And he's written several books and just a plethora of information.
Right. But when we start getting into conspiracies, look, the last one I say, look, people don't realize this. When he got to Dallas, he'd already been forewarned that bad stuff was coming. And they were passing out those flyers that said treason.
Oh, yeah.
Treason when they put you on it, killed Kennedy on sight and all that.
There was an attempt on his life in Chicago, but it was thwarted.
Right. And most people don't know about that. But, and this ain't...
And a lot of people, Judith Berry Baker, who was the girlfriend to Lee Harvey Oswald,
right.
She's a doctor.
Right.
She's a scientist. And she said that Lee Harvey Oswald is the one that called the FBI and warned them, or called someone in the government and warned them that there was going to be an attempt on Kennedy.
But let me tell you what I saw from my perspective,
Chicago.
Lisa. Let me tell you what happened real quick before we started getting to the different conspiracies. Because, the last one, real quick, the last big one I saw was they went and got the greatest criminal murder investigator, criminal profiler from England, and he's the one that said, which made a lot of sense, that Kennedy actually got accidentally killed by a Secret Service agent when they hit the gas, he was riding on the seat, the car behind him with a brand new M16.
I've heard that.
Right, they just come out, which makes sense. You know what I mean?
I don't believe that, though.
I don't know if it makes sense. I'm talking about the bullet trajectory makes sense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But let me tell you what I've seen. When you go into the book depository building, the window he supposedly shoots out of is in the very far corner. Now, you can get into the window right next to it and look down. And let me tell you something. He had like a $20 Italian-made bolt-action rifle that had a faulty...
A cheap gun.
Right, that had a faulty sight on it, that had a factory defective sight that was shit. And he got off 3 rounds with this bolt-action rifle. Now, you got to understand, when you can look down from this window, they got an X in the middle of the road where the bullet hit Kennedy. There's no way the best marksman in the world couldn't get off 3 rounds, Lisa. I'm telling you.
You know, that rifle was taken from Dallas and sent to Washington that Friday night. And they found the crime lab in FBI at the FBI place there in I don't know if they sent it to Langley or wherever, but they found no usable prints on that gun whatsoever.
Right. That's the beginning of the whole
was killed. The rifle was sent back to Dallas, and Monday morning, 2 FBI agents went into the funeral home that Oswald was at, and the guy, stated in the affidavit that they came in there
and put his prints in the rifle.
Put black ink on his hands and put his palm print and fingerprints on the gun.
Right.
And he actually said it took me forever to get that black ink off his hands.
And let me tell you something, Lisa. See how thoroughly I investigated it with my little notebook. So when me and Rob, that's what made Rob lose it. When me and Rob looked at this window and we realized there's no way you're getting 3 shots off with that rifle and hitting that spot. No way. And look, we're laymen. I was in the military. Rob's $100 life. You know what I mean? We got a cursory knowledge of guns, a fairly decent knowledge. We're from Arkansas, but we're not firearm experts. We're not your Todd Grays of the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But so then I go down, and they got the fence up, and you stand on the X, and I go to the grassy knoll, and I look, and then I went all the way down to the overpass, and they still got the hunk of concrete missing off the overpass where the bullet hit, where that one bullet hit, right? And then, let me tell you, it's impossible to make 3 shots, especially a deadly shot, because you'd have to be shooting straight down. And look, there's trees grown up now, but even if the trees were down, you would have to shoot straight down. And at the trajectory that rifle was pointed, there's no way it would have went straight down. It would hit even the top of the head or the neck and went straight. You see what I'm saying? Straight down. And
that's the same thing that Jim Mars said. Jim Mars has done years of investigation on this.
There's
and
no
he
way.
Actually owns one of those Carcano rifles.
Right.
And he said that you cannot shoot this thing, 3 rounds consecutively as quick and be accurate.
No way. With a bolt-action rifle, because you had to get 3 rounds off in like 3-point-something seconds. And when you're racking a bolt-action rifle, you're wiggling and waggling that thing, but the trajectory, the angle of that gun, he'd have to be coming from and I'm standing in the window 3-4 foot away from the actual window the shot supposed to come from. And it's shooting straight down. So it would have to hit Kennedy in the shoulder, the neck, the top of the head, you see what I'm saying? And even when it leveled out, that 3rd shot would have been accurate enough to get off. You know what I mean? You have to shoot back.
Well, and then you take in account the doctors that actually worked on him at Park Hospital,
right?
Hospital.
Yes, it.
Those doctors said those aren't the same pictures that.
Right. And what the head Secret Service agent did?
Get this. Do you know during the Warren Commission they didn't show actual pictures? They showed drawings.
Right. That's when the magic bullet theory and all that broke out. But here's the kicker on that, Lisa. You know, like I know, when you're shooting a bolt-action rifle, your first shot's going to be the most accurate because you got to shoot, then you got to rack it, eject the shell, reload it, re-aim, shoot again.
And especially if you're doing timed shooting.
Right. So the deadly shot, the angle of the rifle would have to be out of that window. The deadly shot would have been the 3rd shot. That would have been the fatal shot. By that time, that would have been the most inaccurate shot. You see what I'm saying? Because you'd have to rack, reload. That would be your most inaccurate shot. I'm telling you, it is impossible. I saw it with my own eyes. So you go to the grassy knoll, and that's obviously where the deadly shot come from. You know what I mean? Obviously. Or the overpass.
Well, you're exactly correct, because
It was a triangle
FBI
deal.
agent by the name of
It was like they taught us in the Army.
FBI agent by the name of Zach Shelton. He served 28 years with the FBI with, impeccable record.
Right.
After he retired, he decided that he was going to do some investigating on this because he's like, something ain't right here. Well, somebody had given him a tip that James Files was serving in a prison in Illinois and that he was involved in that shooting.
Yeah.
The guy that did Oliver Stone tried to talk to James Files. James Files wouldn't talk to him.
Right.
James Files said he didn't like him, didn't like his attitude. But James Files ended up talking to this Zach Shelton, the FBI agent, and ended up getting in contact, or Zach Shelton actually talked him into talking to Jim March. And he was connected to so many people.
Right.
He knew David Atlee Phillips, who was the CIA handler for Oswald.
Right. Well, here's
he,
what I think.
He said he was the
and
one
I'm sure
that
you'd think the same
fired the
thing,
shot.
Lisa. It was a perfect storm. Kennedy was
Perfect storm.
Kennedy was
and I tell you what, you know this, a lot of people don't realize that he, on June the 4th in 1963, he signed the Executive Order 11110, which would take away the Federal Reserve's power to print money. Because at this time, Kennedy had already had $4.3 million
I don't know what you believe in this.
notes printed.
But it wasn't just one entity that done this. It was conspiring big entities.
It was several.
It was the military-industrial complex because of Vietnam. And then you had the CIA because he was just to put them in a corner.
It was a CIA hitman.
Right. And then it was the mafia because of his brother.
Several of the mob.
It was 3 or 4 entities that come together.
Were CIA assets.
Right.
Because the CIA would go to them when they wanted people rubbed out.
Right. Because they wanted to disavow it and the mob was good at it. You know what I mean? But look, this is the deal. People know this. There's the woman, the spotted dress that nobody can find, polka dot dress.
Yep.
But, there was people who said that, there was people.
People has been killed that were witnesses?
Right. Well, have you seen, well, no, they released that new, it was on Netflix. They had that latest documentary where the Zapruder film is the famous film that everybody sees of him in the car where it's back and to the left. But there's another film being taken.
And there's
another film, right?
There's several frames missing from that.
Right.
207 to 211 is missing from
But I forget who took. There was a dude down there who took the day off work who had a brand new Super 8 camera who was not Zapruder, who was closer.
And we've never seen that footage.
Look, I've seen a piece of it. There's a new documentary that come out, and they found pieces of this film now, and it's different than the Zapruder film, but it's so obvious that the bullet comes from the grassy knoll when you see this film. But there's only 4 or 5 frames.
And there's actually a picture, and you can't see it very well.
Because it's video that they
see the
freeze
outline.
framed. Right, it's film they freeze framed, and the dude wasn't a professional filmmaker, photographer, so it's crappy film. It's the first time I ever used it.
I know you probably know this, but I know people that are listening to you probably do not. But the FBI came in and pretty much took over the Zapruder film that day.
Right.
And
since they've done the echo
CBS
test.
lost a bidding war to Life magazine, Time Life, and Life bought the rights to that film for $150,000.
Right.
And kept it put away for 15 years. But in the 70s, they sold the rights back to the Zapruder family for $1. And then, the government, the Zapruder family in the early 90s decided they wanted the film back. And the government said, no, this is part of the, the assassination records.
Right.
We'll buy it back from you. I think they offered them $700,000. Over the span of 5 or 6 years, they got a high-powered lawyer. Of course, the Washington lawyers. The government ended up paying the Zapruder family $16 million for the rights to this film in 1999.
Right. Well, it's hard because the government was good at this, or the entities, the powers that be that made this happen, was good at this, and there were so many red herrings, and they covered it up, and there's so many indiscrepancies. It's almost impossible at this point to really peg who did it, who's you know what I mean, or whether actual, you know what I mean. because it's
It was a conspiracy cabal. Basically, you had I think the CIA and
military industrial complex, the mob,
the military, exactly, because what did JFK was not going to go into
Vietnam. He's just to shut that party down. That was going to cost them billions of dollars.
And who made the most money during the Vietnam War?
Oh, that's going to be Halliburton.
LBJ.
Huh?
LBJ
Right.
made millions and millions of dollars.
See, that's what I was about to get to. Man, I read this whole deal about a couple years ago. People don't realize how heavy-handed, a shady, dirty brute that LBJ was. As liberal,
oh my gosh!
Hey, as liberal,
he had his sister killed.
Right, as liberal, and I'm not an Alex Jones conspiracy. I think Hillary Clinton killed 500 people.
I mean, no, that you can actually go read. I've read almost 30 books about the JFK, the murder.
Well, the whole scheme, he was running on ammonia tanks in Texas, and when he had that USDA official killed, it made it look like suicide. You know what I'm talking about? But he had this dude that worked for him who eventually got convicted. I forget his name. He had one of them Texas names where it was the first initial, and then it was like E.F. Hutton, but it was like E. Jones Parnell or something like that. I forget the dude's name.
Well,
but he was he did all the dirty work for LBJ. He was a party boss in Texas, and that LBJ and him were getting these subsidies from the government for ammonia tanks on farms. But they weren't getting the ammonia, but they were getting all these millions of dollars, claiming they had these ammonia tanks for farms, and they didn't have these tanks for money, and this one USDA agent got hit to it, and he got killed, or he killed himself allegedly, but he done it with a long rifle, a .22 long rifle, and he shot himself 4 times.
Well, you remember Hunt? I can't think
That's
of
his name. That's his name. That's it. It's something Joe Hunt or something.
He was the one that went to prison.
That's him. That's what I'm talking about. He was a party boss in Texas. Here, I'll Google it real quick.
What was he? He was also a career CIA.
Right.
Worked for the CIA.
Right, and he was the party boss in Texas for LBJ and did all his dirty work. Let me look it up because I done looked up Cooter Brown, and we'll get to Cooter Brown in a minute. Because Cooter Brown, the Cooter Brown story, and I got to give credit, the mother of my child, I told her to give her credit, Susan Crane, come up with the Southern Folklore segment. Now, I like that. So once a month, I'm going to tackle.
Yeah, but that would be a good segment.
Once a month, that's going to be one of my segments because, I'm going to try to do a podcast once a week, hopefully every Tuesday. So at least once a month, I'm going to tackle a Southern folklore myth. But anyway, let me get it. LBJ and what'd you say his last name was?
What was that guy's name? His last name was Hunt. It was like something Hunt.
Right, but it was one initial. But this,
E something Hunt.
But this, hold up, I have right here. E. Howard Hunt. I know it was
E. Howard Hunt. And do you know his wife died mysteriously?
Right. But this USDA official, look, he was an OSS guy, CIA, President Special Investigations Unit. Look, he was also
And he ended up on his deathbed.
He was also involved in Watergate.
All these names. Oh, yeah. He went to prison for Watergate.
Right.
He's the one that named David Atlee Phillips and Lyndon Johnson and Cord Meyer and William Harvey.
I forgot about a
CIA and Bay of Pigs veteran. And there was Frank Sturgis. He was one of the mercenaries of the Bay of Pigs.
H.L. Hunt is also
and he was also a Watergate figure.
Right. I was thinking of him too, but I was thinking of the other dude called H.L. Hunt. It's H.L. Hunt, dude.
H.L. Hunt.
Let's see. Let me find it out. But let me Google it real quick because this is crazy. This is crazy because I didn't realize how evil. See, as forward thinking and liberal as Kennedy was, LBJ was this is back when the Democrats were the conservatives.
Well, what it basically...
And he was a dirty career politician that done a bunch of underhanded...
There's a false narrative that Democrats and Republicans are different. They are not different.
Well, they aren't really now, but I'm talking about back then.
They all work basically for the industrial military complex. I mean, on TV they want to act as if they're bickering and fighting and all that, but they're not. Their goal is to divide and conquer people. Because if you divide and conquer, you overcome them.
Here it is. Here's what I was talking about. Right. Well, divide and conquer, everybody right. And that all started when, like I said, the day the music died, the day the kid
I believe it truly all started with, it all started falling into line after the Kennedy assassination.
Right. That's when the powers that be, these corporate powers, the industrial military complex, basically started taking over and buying most of our democracy. And the deal was sealed when Reagan became president. That was when it was a done deal, in my book.
Because, we were founded as a republic.
Right. But Ronald Reagan was a corporate spokesman all his life. And once he took power, that's when you know that corporate America.
Well, I'll tell you my whole deal on him getting shot. I mean, there's a lot of weird things that happened with that too. He kind of started. He toed the line after he was shot, didn't he?
Right.
He did whatever he was told to do.
But like I'm saying, that Reagan being a corporate spokesman all his life.
John Hinckley being released last month.
Yeah, they just denied parole again for David Chapman.
What about Sirhan? He's not.
He died in prison. I was going to get to that. You jumping ahead there.
I firmly believe.
Hey, we're going to get to RFK.
Part of that MK Ultra thing.
Hey, we're going to get to RFK. You're jumping ahead. I want to tell. I don't know if people know this. Most people don't know this about this USD agent. Look, his name was Henry Marshall. Look, let's see. Here's the deal with Henry Marshall. This is the first day they said LBJ had killed. He allegedly made it look like a suicide, but dude shot himself with a long rifle like 4 times. Who commits suicide with a long rifle?
That was the one out on the farm.
Right, by himself. But I only found out about this dude like 2 years ago, and then I found a bunch of stuff about it, and that's when you go back and find out.
There's actually a book about that.
Right. That's when I found out that that Hunt dude was like his done all his dirty politics for LBJ in Texas. That's how LBJ got so big in Texas, is because this dude had a bunch of people rubbed out and blackmailed and all kind of other stuff. And this Hunt dude was doing it was CIA connected, done all this dirty work for LBJ. You know what I mean? And you couldn't find out that LBJ, even though people knew that LBJ and Kennedy didn't really like each other that much, and the reason he picked up LBJ...
They never expected him to accept the vice presidential nomination.
Well, that's the only reason he asked him to run is because he had to have the South to win. And he didn't think LBJ would do it.
And he had all this pull in Texas.
Right. And he didn't think LBJ would accept the chance to be vice president, but he did. So
because was he the speaker? What was he? He was some...
LBJ was the governor, but he didn't become like the Speaker of the House.
Washington at the time.
He was like the Speaker of the House, I think.
Yes, and so they never expected him to step down to accept a position that basically wielded no power whatsoever.
Right, here's what I was talking about right here. Let me say this real quick. Here's about this USD agent. It says, his name was Henry Marshall. He was the son of a farmer born in Robertson County, Texas, 1909. He studied chemistry at the University of Texas before becoming the only teacher at Nesbitt Rural School. Let's see that it was closed in 1932 as the Great Depression. So dude found a job at a gin company. 1934, he became a clerk with the Agricultural Adjustment Administration. He worked for the agent's Robertson County office, and it said in 1960, I was talking about this Billy So Estes dude. This is the dude that was in.
Yes.
He was in with LBJ and the Hunt dude. He was a real dirty dude that killed people and ripped the government off through farm subsidies. But it says in 1960, Marshall was asked to investigate the activities of Billy So Estes. Marshall discovered that over a 2-year period, Estes had purchased 3,200 acres of cotton allotments from 160 different farmers. See, and that's how he got caught him, is because these dude was buying these allotments and he was strong-arming these farmers and paying pennies on the dollar and making fortunes off the subsidies. And it says, but he bought these allotments from 160 different farmers. Marshall wrote this appearance in Washington 31st of 1960 in August. These regulations should be strengthened to support our disapproval of every case of allotment transfers. When he heard the news, Billy So Estes sent in his lawyer, John P. Dennison, who's a big-time crooked dude, too. If you study him like me and Lisa, all these names have reoccurred. You know what I mean?
You'll notice they all these names come
are connected
over and over again throughout the government.
And they're connected 5 or 6 different ways, and they reoccur over and over.
Yes.
And it says that the
I mean, it's like a Pandora's box
Right.
when you open it. Just one
right.
thing leads to
And
another.
you hear the
leads to
same
another.
2 or 3 players, but they'll be connected to 4 different ways. It's crazy. But it says John P. Dennison.
Well, that's just like who was in Dallas that day that was with the CIA that most people doesn't even know about.
I don't know.
You know.
Let me finish this before you get me on another tangent there, ADHD. Anyway, hold up. We'll get to that in just a second. But it says, Marshall told Dennison that Estes was clearly involved in a scheme or device to buy allotments and will not be approved, and prosecution will follow if this operation is ever used. That's what he told his lawyer. Marshall was disturbed that as a result of sending a report of his meeting to Washington, he was offered a new post in Washington. Or, you know what I mean? Instead of getting in trouble, they give him a promotion to get him out of Texas. He assumed that Billy So Estes had friends in high places, and they wanted him removed from his field office in Robertson County. Marshall refused what he considered to be a bribe. A week after that meeting between Marshall and Dennison, A.B. Foster, manager of Billy So Estes Enterprises, wrote to Cliff Carter, a close aide to Lyndon B. Johnson. Cliff Carter was the dude I was talking about. He was the dude that he was the guy that went and talked to the Hunt guy. He was the one that was the liaison to all the shady shit. You know what I mean? He was the insulation to LBJ. But see, a close aide to Lyndon B. Johnson telling him about the problems that Marshall was causing the company. Foster wrote that, quote, "We would sincerely appreciate your investigating this and see if anything can be done," unquote. Over the next few months, Marshall's had meetings with 11 county committees in Texas. He pointed out that Billy So Estes' scheme to buy cotton allotments were illegal. This information was then communicated to those farmers who had been sold their cotton allotments to Billy So Enterprises. On the 3rd of June, 1961, and almost a year later, Marshall was found dead on his farm by the side of a Chevy Fleetside truck. His rifle lay beside him. He had been shot 5 times with his own rifle, and they ruled it a suicide, man. Soon after the county sheriff Howard Steger arrived and decreed that Marshall committed suicide. No pictures were taken of the crime scene. No blood samples were taken of the stains of the truck. The truck was washed and waxed the following day. No check for fingerprints were made on the rifle or pickup. Marshall's wife, Sybil Marshall, and brother of Robert Marshall, refused to believe that he had committed suicide and posted a $2,000 reward for the information leading to a murder conviction. The undertaker, Manly Jones, also reported, quote, "To me it looked like murder. I just do not believe a man could shoot himself like that," unquote. Of course, who commits suicide by shooting themselves with a long rifle? That's
no
rare.
one can shoot themselves 5 times with a rifle.
Right, a long rifle, 5 times.
That's an impossibility.
Now look, now I can say this from personal experience. I knew a dude who was I ain't gonna say where. I had a friend I met on the internet 10 or 20 years ago who was an elected coroner, who was a coroner in a county in North Arkansas, and he had showed me some cases he had worked. In one case he worked, he said it was the most intriguing case and hardest case he ever worked. This dude, he'd figure out, had shot himself with a .44 Magnum rifle, but it didn't kill him. It blew half his face off. And when dude woke up, he walked across the shop, dragging a trail of blood, reloaded the single-shot rifle, shot himself again, Lisa, and it left a stump. It looked like something from a cartoon. All that was there was a neck stump. It didn't even look real. You know what I mean? But that was twice, and that was with a .44 Magnum. Who's going to shoot themselves 5 times? Who can stand the pain after 2 or 3 shots? You know what I'm saying? It's ludicrous.
I just think that's...
Not the fact that no pictures were taken, huh?
Word.
What's that?
Ludicrous is the correct word.
Right.
But I mean, if you were to go back and start doing some research on the amount of people that have died mysteriously
right, people want to talk about
involved in this case.
Right, people want to talk about Clinton, all these people. And look, don't get me wrong, Vince Foster and a couple of them are shady. But do I think the Clintons killed 80 to 150 people? No, because even the Clintons at some point would get indicted. You know what I mean? At some point you would get indicted.
The Clintons are into it up
could
to
somebody in
their
power
necks,
get away
and
with
they were smart enough to...
Look, Lisa, but let's be
But let's
logical.
get back to who was in Dallas that day.
All right, well, let me finish what I was saying. Look, no pictures were taken. No blood samples were taken. No fingerprints were taken. The truck was washed and waxed, which is so that so goes against every crime
Well, of course,
scene
it goes against
where there is.
every
Right,
crime
you're gonna
scene
take
thing you're supposed to do.
Right, you're gonna take the truck where a murder or suicide was involved and wash and wax it the next day within 24 hours. But it's the whole fact.
But you know, the word is that LBJ was about to be indicted before he was tapped as VP.
But look what I was going to tell you at the end. We'll get to
crap.
Texas. Who was in Texas? Look, it said the Undertaker Manning Jones reported it looked like murder. It said his son Raymond Jones later told the journalist Bill Adler in 1986. That's where I found out about this stuff was through Bill Adler in 86. Daddy said he told the Judge Farmer there was no way Mr. Marshall could have killed himself. Daddy had seen suicides before. JP's depend on us, justice of the pieces. Depend on us and our judgments about such things. We see a lot more deaths than they do. But in this case, Daddy said Judge Farmer told him he was going to put suicide on the death certificate because the sheriff told him to do it. As a result, Lee Farmer returned the suicide verdict, death by gunshot, self-inflicted. His wife hired an attorney, W.S. Barrett, in order to persuade the Robertson County authorities to change the ruling on the cause of death. One man who did not believe that the marshal had been murdered, this is who I remember, this Texas Ranger, was Texas Ranger Clint Peoples. And if you ever read about this Clint Peoples dude, he's a legendary Texas Ranger. He just ain't some Texas Ranger. He's like one of the Texas Rangers. You know, you always hear stories about certain Texas Rangers. He's one of those legendary Texas Rangers. And this Clint, like I said, Texas Ranger Clint Peoples had reported to Colonel Homer Garrison, who was the director of the Department of Safety, that it would have been utterly impossible for Mr. Marshall to have taken his own life. Peoples also interviewed Nolan Griffin, a gas station attendant, who claimed that on the day of Marshall's death, he had been asked by a stranger for directions to Marshall's farm. A Texas Ranger artist, Thad Johnson, drew a facial sketch based on the description given by Griffin. Peoples eventually came to the conclusion that this man was Mac Wallace, the convicted murderer of John Kitzer. Right.
Mac Wallace, yes. Mac Wallace had worked for LBJ for years, and
right.
He was also there in Dallas.
Right, that's what I was going to get to. He was one of his henchmen. He's one of his strong armers that go strong arm people to vote for the way LBJ wanted, strong arm politicians, or blackmail them, or shit like that. But let me get.
They're saying Mac Wallace was really the one that was in the room that Lee Harvey was supposed to be in.
Right. Right, I was going to get to that. That's what I was going to get to, man. And we finished, let's say it says, so, of John Kitzer, convicted murderer of John Kitzer, Mac Wallace was. So in the spring of 1962, Billy Estes was arrested by the FBI on fraud and conspiracy charges. Soon afterwards, it was disclosed by the Secretary of Agriculture, Orville L. Freeman, that Henry Marshall had been a key figure in the investigation into the illegal activities of Billy Estes. As a result, the Robertson County grand jury ordered that the body of Marshall should be exhumed and an autopsy performed. After 8 hours of an examination, Dr. Joseph A. Jamitsk confirmed that Marshall had not committed suicide. Jamitsk also discovered a 15% carbon monoxide concentration in Marshall's body. Jamitsk calculated that it could have been as high as 30% at the time of death. So that tells you that he was probably carbon monoxide and then shot 5 times to cover up the fact that he was poisoned by carbon monoxide. On April 4th, 1962, George Kudelik, Estes' chief accountant, was found dead. Despite a severe bruise on Kudelik's forehead, guess what he got ruled as? Suicide. The next day, Estes and 3 business associates were indicted by a federal grand jury on 57 counts of fraud. 2 of these men, Harold Earl and Coleman Wade, died before the case came to court. At the time, it was said they committed suicide too, but later Estes was claimed that both men were murdered by who? Your good old buddy Mac Wallace. In order to protect the political career of who? Lyndon Baines Johnson.
LBJ.
Right, the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation also began to look into the case of Billy Estes. Leonard C. Williams, a former assistant to Henry Marshall, testified about the evidence the department acquired against Estes. Secretary of Agriculture Orville. What's that, Lisa?
You'll also find that he has connections to LBJ had connections to Johnny Roselli, who was a big, mob guy in Chicago. Right.
Well, I was getting. See, that's what it's getting to, because it goes on to say that But, it was eventually discovered that 3 officials of the Agricultural Adjustment Administration, which is now the USDA or the FDA, or not whatever the Farmer Bureau is. It used to be called the Agricultural Adjustment Administration. But 3 other officials had been bribed by Billy Soestes, Red Jacobs, Jim Ralph, and Bill Morris, who were eventually removed from their jobs. Further disclosures suggested that Orville L. Freeman might be involved in the scam. But guess who Orville L. Freeman was at the time? The Secretary of Agriculture. You see what I'm saying? That's what people don't realize.
Well, and that's why you can't think that corruption's gotten any better. It's gotten worse. And maybe I'm just jaded, but I believe that the majority of politicians and government officials are corrupt as they can be.
Right.
You can't believe one set of officials can get away with something that another set couldn't get away with.
To make it on a federal level, at some point you have to do something corruptive or corruptible, or you've been corrupted.
Not if everyone holds cards.
Not 100% of them, but a vast majority of them. And I don't mean just like straight taking a bribe. I'm talking about wielding influence. People think when they think of corrupted politicians, they think he took a bribe. But it ain't even that. It's doing favors, political favors.
Well, see, I don't. I'm a very open-minded. I'm a very open-minded individual. I don't say, okay, well, I refuse to believe anything bad about Republicans, because I'm telling you, I'm one of these. I'll believe. I won't believe anything, but if I do enough investigation and reading, I understand that they can be just as guilty as the Democrats.
Right.
I mean, that's just like who was there in Dallas that day, who was also with the CIA? George Herbert Walker Bush.
Well, it's weird. It's weird, Lisa. Here's what's weird. There's crooked politicians on both sides. It don't matter. And when it gets local politics, people tend to be party, not really, say, it depends on what's popular in that county. Say if you're in a county that's popular to be a Democrat, you might even have Democratic beliefs or values, but you'll still register and run as a Democrat to get elected. You know what I'm saying? But it seems to me that Democrats tend to get busted more for taking bribes. Republicans get caught more in sex corruption. You know what I mean?
You are exactly correct on that.
And I don't know why it's like that. Usually it's staunch anti-gay Republicans who get caught doing gay stuff. But what I was about to tell you, and I was going to tell my listeners real quick, and we'll get back to that what you were talking about in Dallas. The reason I'm telling you about Billy Soestes and Henry Marshall is because JFK's assassination was the culmination of all this stuff. This stuff just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed, and everybody that got in its way got knocked out. And it just so happened at the end, it was the president in the way, and he had to go too. You know what I mean? And it just so happened.
You're exactly correct. It wasn't just one thing; it was a culmination of many things.
Right, and it just so happened that the level of dudes getting wiped out just got higher and higher and higher, and the more parties that favored not killing these people grew and grew. Become more powerful entities and more entities
and a lot of them that kept their mouths shut, they ended up being president,
right,
vice president.
Well, look, it says right here.
I mean,
that's what I was going to tell you. It says right here that after the Secretary of Agriculture, Orville, what was his name? Oh, here, I lost the spot. Orville Freeman. Now, after Billy Soestes got busted, both his business partners ended up dead. The investigating AAA officer, Henry Marshall, allegedly shot himself 5 times. He ended up dead. Both his partners ended up committing suicide. His head accountant allegedly ended up committing suicide. That's 4 suicides now. None of them look like suicide. And then after dude's convicted, he pays like a $42,000 fine for these illegal cotton allotments. But 2 months later, the Secretary of Agriculture, the same dude, appointed him to the National Cotton Advisory Board.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And
I see exactly what you're saying.
You're having the Secretary of Agriculture appointed dude to the National Cotton Advisory Board that makes the rules on these allotments, who just got busted for breaking every rule there is 2 months earlier, and everybody that was involved around him, 4 different people ended up dead under mysterious circumstances, which eventually gets to Kennedy, like you said, through Mac Wallace and him. But it said that that Billy Celeste told Wilson Tucker, Deputy Director of Agriculture Department's Cotton Division, on August 1st of 61, that he threatened to, quote, embarrass the Kennedy administration if the investigation was not halted, unquote. Tucker went on to testify, quote, Esty stated that he pulled cotton allotment matter had caused the death of one person, and then asked me if he knew Henry Marshall, unquote. As Tucker pointed out, this was 6 months before questions about Marshall's death had been raised publicly. However, the cover-up continued. Tommy G. McWilliams, the FBI agent in charge of the Henry Marshall investigation, came to the conclusion, and is that the agent you were talking about that was the super square dude? That my theory wasn't that he shot himself and then realized he wasn't dead, unquote. He claimed that when he tried to kill himself by inhaling carbon monoxide from the exhaust pipe of his truck, McWilliams claimed that Marshall had used his shirt to make a hood over the exhaust pipe. Even J. Edgar Hoover was not impressed with his theory. He wrote on the 21st of May, 1962, I can't understand how one can fire 5 shots at himself. Now, the same director, the same doctor who they dug up and said they found the carbon dioxide in his body, come back and said that he disagreed with the FBI report. He believed that the bruise on Marshall's forehead had been caused by a severe blow to the head. He also rejected the idea that Marshall had used his shirt as a hood. He pointed out that, quote, if this were done, soot must have necessarily been found on the shirt. No soot was found. So that tells you that the FBI was in on it right there, the FBI agent. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's making excuses to say this dude tried to kill himself with carbon dioxide poison first with this ludicrous that he made a hood, basically a hood and put it on his tailpipe and suck on his tailpipe, which is more ludicrous than a dude would have shot himself. You know what I mean? Because you know, like I know, and that anybody knows, and you said that your good friend and kind of employer listens, and he knows something about dead people, he would also tell you this. Carbon dioxide poison to put you to sleep. So if you was to put a hood on a pipe to try to kill yourself
that's supposed to be the most peaceful, best way to kill yourself.
Right, but you turn cherry red, your skin turns cherry red.
You get a nice pink color.
Right, but that if you would have made a hood, Lisa, and put it on the back of a truck to suck carbon dioxide, that you'd have fell asleep and fell off the pipe and eventually started sucking oxygen again.
Oh, yeah.
So that's even more ludicrous of a theory than shoot yourself 5 times almost. But what I was trying to get to...
I worked on an ambulance 5 years, and I've seen a few suicides myself.
Right, that's the best way to go. You go to sleep and never wake up. But it says, I'm almost done. It says, but they pointed out there was no suit on the shirt, that the Robertson County Grand Jury continued to investigate the death of Henry Marshall. However, some observers were disturbed by the news that the grand jury member, Priest Metcalf, was dominating the proceedings. Metcalf was County Sheriff Howard Steagle's son-in-law. On June 1st, 1962, the Dallas News reported that JFK had, quote, taken a personal interest in the mysterious death of Henry Marshall, unquote. As a result, the story said Robert Kennedy, quote, has ordered the FBI to step up its investigation of the case, unquote. In June of 62, Billy Celeste appeared before the grand jury. He was accompanied by John Comfort, a lawyer who represented the LBJ. So that right there, look, this was crazy. So when he showed up, Billy Celeste, who all these people got killed by, showed up before the grand jury. I know I'm talking too loud on my mic. I forgot I'm using a condenser mic now. And when I talk loud, I'm probably clipping it. So when I listen to the playback, it's probably going to sound like I'm about to blow up speakers. But because it's so crazy when you read this. But when Billy Celeste finally appeared before the grand jury, he was accompanied by John Comfort, a lawyer who represented LBJ when he was accused of ballot rigging when he was elected to the Senate in 1948. And he also defended, guess who? Mac Wallace, when he was charged with the murder of John Kinzer. Billy Celeste spent almost 2 hours before the grand jury, but he invoked the Texas version of the Fifth Amendment and refused to answer most questions on the grounds that he might incriminate himself. Tommy G. McWilliams, the crooked FBI agent, also appeared before the grand jury and put forth a theory that, return my mic down, put forth a theory that Henry Wallace had committed suicide. Dr. Joseph A. His Polish name, Jachimski, also testified that it, quote, if in fact this is suicide, it's the most unusual one I've seen during the examination of approximately 15,000 dead people. McWilliams did admit that it was hard to kill yourself with the bolt action 22. Oh yeah, I forgot that. The rifle was a bolt action rifle. That this view was shared by John McClellan. Well, everybody knows who John McClellan is, famous Arkansas senator, right? Right? John McClellan, right? A member of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on the Investigations. He posted photographs of a 22 caliber rifle similar to Marshall's. McClellan pointed out, quote, "It doesn't take many deductions to come to the irrevocable conclusion that no man committed suicide by placing this rifle in the awkward position and then cocking it 4 times." Because the way they showed him, there's a picture involved, and the way they show him shooting himself is like you would think with a long rifle, putting it between your legs and using the toe as a trigger finger. So that means you'd have to pull the trigger with your toe, rack the bolt, eject the shell, reload it, and do that 4 more times. What blows my mind is, this is what blows my mind, Lisa. And, you know, and all these people that Alex Jones and all these folks attribute with Clinton killings, at least these Clinton conspiracies, the suicides and deaths are pretty simple looking and explainable. You know what I mean?
Not all of them.
Right, not all of them, but most of them.
If you start doing a lot of reading.
Right, but the majority of them are.
You'll see
except for the 2 boys on the railroad tracks.
That you see in this.
Right.
Oh, there's an awesome book out about that.
Right, with the 2 boys on the railroad tracks, of course, and a couple of other people. But what I'm trying to say is that despite the evidence presented by the doctor, the grand jury agreed with McWilliams and ruled that considering all known evidence, the jury considered it inconclusive to substantiate a definite decision at this time or to overrule any decision heretofore made. So basically, they didn't overturn the suicide determination that was made, obviously wrongly, by the sheriff, and the dude who run the grand jury was the sheriff's son-in-law. That's why me and Lisa keeps telling, I forget me and you talking, that all these paths keep crossing. You know what I mean? That Mac Wallace and all these paths keep crossing.
If any of y'all are wondering why Byron has gone on with this story, he's trying to show you that it's a multitude of things.
Right, they cross paths 5 different ways, about 5 different things.
Yes, and that's why I mentioned George Herbert Walker Bush.
Right.
Nixon was in Dallas the night before.
Right.
The man that came up with the single bullet theory, Arlen Specter,
right,
who was a lead Republican for years, but then changed to
the Democratic
Party,
Arlen Specter is legendary U.S. senator.
And you know, that was the craziest
the magic bullet theory.
Because
right,
if you've ever seen what one bullet can do, you know, I've seen a bullet that went through my brother, and it was destroyed. A bullet cannot go through several humans and come out pristine.
Well, the fact that it can't hit bone like that and still stay in one piece or a solid enough piece to go back out and make a 90-degree turn and re-enter the body. You know,
well, and you recall, an orderly supposedly found the bullet on the stretcher that Connolly was taken off of.
Right. It allegedly just fell out of him. And it was in pretty pristine condition after hitting all the bones and bodies.
Oh, it looks almost brand new.
Yeah, it almost looks brand new. And look, Lisa, which we're going into, look, this is my new record for a podcast. That's because I love talking about RFK and JFK. And man, maybe I'm having back spasms though, because I ain't.
Well, if there's anybody out there that wants to learn about this, I'm telling you, it's like going down a rabbit hole.
Oh, it is.
Because you start reading about it, and you start seeing names. Gerald Ford.
Right.
Names that just keeps coming back over and over.
Right, and it just grows and grows and grows. That's why I'm so fascinated by it too, and I know you are. We've talked about it many times because it's like a loose piece of yarn on a sweater. You start pulling it,
and
it
just
keeps coming and coming, and the same names keep reappearing. And Dude A and might not be connected with Dude B here, but they're connected to Dude C, and Dude C is connected to Dude A, and it's paths cross.
It's also extremely sad.
Oh, it's horrible. It's tragic.
Because look, you know, JFK had the morals of an alley cat.
Right.
But he was an extremely good president.
Right, he was. Right, he was just a whore.
He did some wonderful things.
Right, he was just a whore bag.
Did not accept his pay while he was in office.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that had to do with
I mean,
the guilt of where his daddy got his money. You know, that's what from what I've read about it. From what I've read about him and his brother.
Just basically a bootlegger.
Right, he was a gangster. And from what I've read about him and his brother.
His daddy made promises. I do believe that his daddy made promises
to the mob
that helped get him murdered.
Right. What got him elected was the Teamsters Union. Well, the unions got him elected. Well, the mob is what got him there. You know what I'm saying? That's no secret.
Well, and then you had.
And then RFK turns on the mob.
RFK and them who. You had Robert that said, you know what,
we're wiping the mob out. As soon as he gets in office, he turns on the mob and says, I'm wiping the mob out. You know what I mean? And turns on Jimmy Hoffa, who's head of the Teamsters Union, and becomes mortal enemies with Jimmy Hoffa, the biggest union that got his brother elected and got him attorney general.
They still never found his body.
Right. And never will. You know what I'm saying? And never will.
Now, the mob is good at the mob is good at one thing extremely well. That's rubbing people out.
Right.
But no, this is a subject you can literally have almost a whole podcast on.
Oh yeah, and I would like to do that. And you know, I was just supposed to mention it actually. Look, my good buddy next week is supposed to be Chris Hickey, but Chris might have to cancel. He's had to cancel one time before, and if he does, even if he doesn't, I'm gonna try to do, because man, all the Kennedys. It's tragic what happened. I would like to do a whole podcast on the whole story. RFK's assassination was just as shady and mysterious. The fact what was even more shady and mysterious about him is that his assassin, Sirhan, didn't get rubbed out or killed. He went to jail but never said a peep to nobody and died in jail.
Well, and you know, several psychiatrists have come out and said he has no memory of it, and a couple of them even said that
he was a Manchurian candidate
involved in the MK Ultra.
Right, that he was a Manchurian candidate. And if anybody's done any kind of cursory reading on the Robert Kennedy assassination, you'll see these notebooks that he just wrote over and over and over again, kill Kennedy and stuff like that.
Yes.
I must kill Kennedy. Just
You're talking about creepy.
It's very creepy. It's the same sentence. Those. Kill Kennedy over and over and over again, like whole notebooks full. I'm talking about hundreds of pages of just I must kill Kennedy over and over, something like that. And like I said, this is a Manchurian candidate.
What about and you know you talk about, a lot of people don't realize that Gerald Ford had an assassination, Squeaky Fromm.
Right. But that was Manson.
And you know, she ended up spending like 27 years in prison.
And that was one of the Manson's followers. Squeaky Fromm was a Manson girl, and she done that because allegedly Manson had told her from prison to do it, to spark off the race war that he was trying to spark off.
And you know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories saying that Manson worked for the CIA at the time.
Well, people don't see. We can get off on some deep stuff. Like I said, I'm gonna do a recurring segment at least once or twice a month where I talk about these conspiracies. And we're going to tackle the big ones first. And my executive producer / partner in crime is going to be Miss Lisa Reeves, because she's like me on this. Now, when it gets this modern day stuff,
I tell you what, I'm very well read.
I am too, and I know you are, and that's why I want you with me on this, because
14 years old.
Well, I know this, and that's why I want you with me, is because the only person I know that's as well read, especially on the Kennedys, is you. You know what I mean? You're the only person I know that we've talked about it, and you know just as much as I do or more.
It's sad how well versed I am on this subject. I wished I could go earn some money on how well versed I am on this subject.
See, that's why. It's because you're the only person I know that knows. I know that you know as much about it as me or more.
But this is, I tell you, there's probably more books written. The last time I heard it was somewhere around 3,000 or 4,000 books.
Oh, it's the most scrutinized ever.
I mean,
and that's part of the problem. That's why it'll never be solved, because it's been scrutinized and so many theories been thrown out there.
Did you hear what I said at the beginning of the program? October of 2017, the remainder of the JFK files are supposed to be released.
Right, 50 years. Right.
The CIA said that they hold discretion on whether they release them or not.
Right, but it was like
4.5 million pages.
Right, in 79.
Were released.
After the last commission in 79, they said it was going to be a 50-year hold on it. But you know, and I know.
And do you realize realize it took another 15 years after 1979 for them to release those 4.5 million pages.
Right, and they're so redacted.
The most
and
secretive
I'm sure the ones they're going to release it in a couple of years are going to be redacted out the frame. Here's the deal on that. That's part of the problem, too. This has been so scrutinized, and there's been so many theories that the theories have muddled the actual happenings. You know what I mean? And it's been
Well,
it's one of the few times that it's been scrutinized so much, Lisa, that the scrutiny has actually destroyed any hope of ever finding out what really happened.
There was nothing to hide.
Right.
Why, after 50 years, almost everyone is dead? Why are they still? You know why? I believe because it would totally destroy
the faith in government.
I mean, and people have no trust in the government.
Right, it totally destroyed the faith in government. That's why they'll never let us know, because and that's something else I was going to mention too, real quick before we get off here. And like I said, so my few listeners, if you're still with us, thank God, because this is my record. I'm getting my man's Bart Shankle's money worth this time. But like I said, I want to do recurring segments. And if you have any idea of good segments, please send in the ideas, man. I'm going to try anything that people want to hear. If people want to hear it, I want to do it for y'all, man. I'm not a one-trick pony. I know more than just politics. And but like
if it's a conspiracy, we'll certainly investigate it.
Hell yeah, we will. Like I said, I'm gonna do a segment on Southern folklore, and and myths. But what I was going to do is, Lisa, I know I'll get her to come back on here next week, and we'll finish up about RFK. But I would like to do a whole podcast on the whole Kennedys, because you got to think of the whole Chappaquiddick stuff, and then you got to think.
Goodness, yeah.
That documentary I just got you to watch about JFK Jr. You know what I mean? That was heartbreaking, man. That's one of the most. That's one of the most saddest and iconic images, and saddest images I can think of in American history.
There is another really good JFK Jr. documentary out there that was put out several years ago.
Right.
Has a lot of interesting information.
Right. And this is what blows my mind, is that I think that's why people don't realize this. JFK didn't want nothing to do with politics. He probably would have later on, but I think the reason he didn't want nothing to do with it is because he was scared that the forces that clipped his daddy and uncle would come back and get his ass too. And I think that's why he...
Well, I don't know. Several people that were close to him said that he was planning on running for that Senate office.
But they said it would be years later. They said it was no time soon. People want to make a big deal. The deal on him crashing wasn't no conspiracy. He was just a novice pilot that shouldn't have been doing what he was doing. Was trying to fly on gauges.
He had more hours than what you imagine.
Right, but he was trying to fly on gauges. He was trying to fly one of the most trafficked places on the planet by planes on gauges.
You need to look. You need to look at that other JFK documentary.
I've read up on him crashing. It was just pure inexperience as a pilot. There wasn't nothing fluky.
And that's where me and you're going to differ on that.
Well, I know you think it was some type of conspiracy. I don't think it was. I think it was just pure inexperience. You know what I mean?
Well, there was a couple things that just wasn't right.
Right. We'll touch on that, because I'm saying next week I'll get Lisa to come back. We'll talk some more about the Kennedys and the falling of Camelot and all the conspiracies and the mysterious deaths of everybody. Even though old girl, Mary Jo, what's her face in Chappaquiddick, what was her name? Mary Jo McCutney, what was her name?
Kopechne.
Yeah, Kopechne. Yeah. That's it. And because Teddy was supposed to be the one that was supposed to be president to begin with, but like I said, I think that's why RFK. That's from what I could take. That's why RFK and JFK were so virtuous as his public servants, even though they were man whores. Is that because they felt guilty for the way their daddy got their money and got them into power? You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what. I will give this to Teddy Kennedy. It took quite some nerve for him to stay in public office.
But he done a good job, man. Teddy Kennedy was awesome. He helped the people a lot. You know what I mean? And after that, well, he was going to be president, and that ruined him from being president. But after that happened, and old girl died, and he left her there to die to drown, he was a virtuous dude who served the public in a righteous manner for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? He was never even close to a scandal after that. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays,
the closest he got is when William Kennedy Smith, back in the 90s.
Oh, raping?
Teddy's house had raped that girl.
Yeah, raped the old girl on the beach, yeah.
Yeah.
But
that
even
was the
JFK
closest
Jr.
he
come
came
out
to
and
it.
denounced and disavowed that dude. But like
Yeah.
I said, but just if there's any other conspiracies you want to learn out, send us in. If it's a conspiracy I ain't heard of yet, and it's logical, it just ain't kooky, off the frame, Alex Jones crazy, I'm willing to investigate it for you and tackle it. Me and Lisa will tackle it too. But I want to do a conspiracy corner at least once a month. So we're at 149 with 30 seconds left, so we're going to call it 150. It's Shooting the Breeze with Byron A. Lloyd with Lisa Reeves. Lisa, we're going to come back and we're going to try to do conspiracy again next week. Is that cool?
Look forward to it, Byron.
Awesome. And well, I'll talk to you after I kill this podcast. We'll continue talking. But like I said, I know it's a long podcast. It's went a little bit over 2 hours. So you might have to get it in increments. You know what I mean? Hopefully it was interesting. Yeah, and, you know, every now and again I'll try to make it funny. It got a little serious this week, but we'll try to lighten it up and do funny stuff too. But this is Shooting the Breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd. I'll be back next week. My guest should be Christopher Hickey and Lisa Reeves again, and we'll be tackling more on the Conspiracy Corner. And I forgot, before I get off here, I got to tell about Cooter Brown, or I would be remiss. If I told you about Cooter Brown, it's real short, Lisa. You still here, right?
I know nothing about it, so I've been.
Well, this is real short.
Brown.
And I said I would say it, so we might go a little over. It ain't like I got to. I'm sure the 14 listeners I got probably passed out an hour 15 anyway. But here's the deal on Cooter Brown. Man, I thought it was going to be a lot to it, and it was a great idea. But here's the whole deal on Cooter Brown. Cooter Brown, also known as Cootie, I've never heard his name as Cooter, is a name that was used as a metaphor and simile for drunkenness, mostly in the southern United States. Now, there's two different stories about Cooter Brown. One was that he lived on the Mason-Dixon line that divided the North and the South during the Civil War, making him eligible for draft by either side. But he had family on both sides of the line, so he didn't want to fight, so instead he stayed drunk the whole war. Right? So he'd be useless. So he wouldn't have to fight on either side, which is pretty funny. But said, ever since then, the colloquial and proverbial ratings of drunkenness have been benchmarked against the legendary drinker as drunk as Cooter Brown and Dottie Ford. Now, I've never heard the Dottie Ford part, and I tried to look up Dottie Ford.
I've never heard of Dottie Ford either.
I ain't either, man. And I tried to look up about Dottie Ford, and I couldn't find nothing about her. All I could find was her link to
Goodness
Cooter
knows
Brown.
I've heard it used, drunk as Cooter Brown many a time
Right.
throughout my 45
But I've
years.
never heard drunk as Cooter Brown and Dottie Ford. And I tried to look up Dottie Ford so far. All I've been able to find out is she follows drunk as Cooter Brown. No story behind it whatsoever. But I'm still trying to find
maybe
out.
Dottie Brown, maybe she was his maybe
Booty
she was
call.
his girlfriend.
Right. But the other version
Maybe
is,
she was an old drunk too.
right, obviously she was. You'd have to be to hang out with Cooter Brown, wouldn't you? Well, I don't know. They say two
Apparently.
drunks. Right. Well, back then you'd have to drive a car, so I guess you could both be drunk and drive a horse. But it said,
well, back then maybe they just used horses and wagons.
well, that's what I'm
You didn't
saying.
have to be that
You could
sober.
both be shit hammered drunk and drive a horse back in.
You didn't need a DD back then.
Right. The horse would drive itself home if it was smart enough. But here's the other version of the story, which is even better. Another version of the Cooter Brown story is that he was a biracial man, half Cherokee, half black, who lived in the South Louisiana on a small plot of land given to him by an old Cajun fur trapper. Cooter lived alone in the Cajun shack when the Civil War broke out. Cooter didn't want to... Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Cooter, once again, didn't want to choose sides. Sounds like Cooter just liked to get drunk and he used not choosing sides as an excuse to get drunk. But he said he didn't want to
Sounds
choose...
like he used the war as a crutch.
Right. I'm not to protest the war. I'm gonna stay shit hammered drunk to the entirety of the war, or the Lincoln gets killed. But anyway, but this is what it says about him. When the Civil War broke out, Cooter didn't want to choose sides because he didn't know who might win. So he's hedging his bets. He didn't like people much. And was fearful of either side. Because of this, Cooter, who was a heavy drinker anyway, began drinking all the time. Cooter always dressed like an Indian so as to confirm the fact that he was an Indian and not a Negro, which is kind of messed up because back then,
Cooter seemed like he had an antisocial disorder.
very much so. And not only that, how messed up is that? We know that blacks were very bigoted against back in those days, but they were also very bigoted against Native Americans. But obviously they liked Native Americans more than they did black folks because it says he would dress up as an Indian so they wouldn't confuse him as a black dude, even though he was half black. That's messed up, ain't it?
That's not really
That ain't funny, but it is. That's messed up. It's funny in the fact that that's so racist. You got to laugh or you cry. But it says...
Who else did they hate, though?
Shit, that's the two biggest ones.
On signs, they would put no dogs or Irish allowed.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true, too. But it said when the Civil War broke out, he didn't want to choose sides. But it said he was, my bad, he was a heavy drinker. He began drinking all the time, so he dressed as an Indian so as to confirm the fact that he was an Indian and not a Negro. And as such, he was a free man. Oh, okay. That's why he dressed up like an Indian, because if they thought he was black, he'd be a slave. So he dressed up as an Indian so he could be a free man, which is sad, but makes sense now. You know what I mean?
Well, Indians are known to be pretty hard drinkers.
Right, yeah, they are still to this day. It kills them more than anything.
And I can say that because I've got a grandma that was full-blooded Indian.
Well, I can say that because...
great-grandma.
Because it's factual fact that alcoholism kills Indians so much that it's even illegal on the most reservations and just about every Eskimo settlement in Alaska. It's against the law to have alcohol. That's how bad of drunks they are.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Look, learned a new fact I didn't know.
Yeah. Every Eskimo settlement in Alaska, it's illegal to have alcohol. And almost every reservation, it's against the law to have alcohol. When they put when the white man brought the fire water, he ruined the Native Americans forever. He did.
Fire water.
Well, yeah, that's what they call it. But yeah, they thought it was the smallpox and the blankets that would get them. But nope, it was the cheap whiskey.
Well, they also thought there were spirits in it.
Right, but it was the cheap whiskey.
That's why it made them act so differently.
Well, what's crazy is they overcome everything but the whiskey. They overcome the smallpox, them killing all the buffalo. They overcome everything but cheap whiskey. And it's still killing them. That's still the biggest killer of Native Americans to this day is alcoholism. That's messed up.
I tell people all the time that I do not understand why alcohol has been legalized and marijuana has not.
Makes no sense. Marijuana is 10 times more safer.
Sense.
It's 100 times more safer than alcohol. There's no such thing as an MWI. You ain't never heard nobody high. I drive better high.
You maybe heard somebody driving too slow, like
right.
5 miles an hour.
Right, pulling over it or driving through drive-thrus too much and getting snacks. But let me finish on Cooter Brown. So he dressed up as an Indian so he could be a free man, so he won't be confused as the half-black guy he was. It says whenever soldiers, Yanks or rebels showed up in the area, they would always find him drunk. Often he'd offer the soldiers a drink. Word began to spread about this crazy drunken Indian named Cooter Brown. By the time the war ended, Cooter couldn't stop drinking if he wanted to. This is the best part. One night, his shack caught fire and burned completely to the ground. When the locals investigated the burnt site the next day, there was nothing that remained of his body because they said he had so much booze in his body that his whole body just incinerated vapors. That's crazy.
Wow.
Even though that's a crazy man talking about dude was so full of booze, he just vaporized. But I just read that part about him dressing up like an Indian. That's messed up.
But there's a lot of cool Southern folklore out there.
And I'm going to try to tackle it. Thanks to Susan Crane with the idea. And I'll be trying to tackle more Southern folklore, like the boys at the Boggy Creek Monster and everything else. But anyway.
I went there.
We'll have to talk about it later time. Because I got to get out of here. But Shooting the Breeze, your man, Barry Lloyd, next week. Lisa's coming back. We're going to do Conspiracy Corner again. Chris Hickey's supposed to be my guest. I know it's a long podcast, so you might have to listen to it in spurts. Luckily for you, though, you can download it from Spreaker, put it in your podcast when you work out, when you barbecue, when you go to the beauty shop, or when you just get shit hammered drunk like Cooter Brown on the porch. But I'm Byron Lloyd. This is Lisa Reeves. We're 95,000. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.